Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to something I haven't done for quite a while, but it seemed like the right time to do it. So this is today's my 40th birthday, and so I'll share this story real quick of how this came about. I was talking to my wife on Monday. I'm a person, as I had told the people who are here with me, that I'm prone to a bit of ennui around all these major birthdays, and I always tend to spend them alone. Most milestones in life, this is what I've done. And I was like, oh, I don't want to party. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like people. I don't like those sorts of things. I like a big fuss being made, or I don't eat cake, all these sorts of stuff. And I was like, oh, but I feel sad that I'm not memorializing this in some way. It is a fairly major milestone, I suppose, as much as any other day in your life. And she was like, well, why don't you just do a hangout? Then you'll hang out with all the people you really like. And I was like, that's a great idea. There it is. So thank you to my wonderful wife who gave me this great idea. And thank you to all of you who've sent wishes along and birthday thoughts. That means so much to me, and it's so deeply appreciated. So we're going to do a little paint and hangout, and there's a bunch of different content creators and people who will join me throughout. We're just going to sit here and talk and chill and hang out. So there you go. All right, so let's go. Let's do a little roll call. First up, hey Martin, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be back on the show. Thank you very much.
It's good to have you back, man. And we have good painter Stormcast man, as well as the man who dubbed him good painter Stormcast man. Hey, whoa, Twitch, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up? Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Hey, whoa, as usual, bringing an A plus hat selection, as I was already commenting before the show starts. Absolute classic, absolutely every time. Also joining us from the Great White North. He's north of the wall, but that's okay. The White Walkers have been repelled, though we know soon they'll return. It's Maroc Wolf. How you doing, buddy?
Hey man, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. So the first and most appropriate question we've got to ask here is, where is Tom? Was the question. Tom is like one of my oldest friends. I've known him since I was 15, I think, 16 maybe. And yet, nope, couldn't clear his schedule. He might pop in at some point in time, so that's fine. So what are we all working on? Martin, what's on your palette, man? What are you doing? What are you working on?
First of all, happy birthday. Forgot to say that and as part of my introduction.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm working on a relic I found in my hobby vault, just as a little bit of a break from a Games Workshop product, because I just finished Legions of Nagash Army in just under like 5 months, which is like unprecedented for me.
Sure.
So I'm working on a 75 millimeter, some sort of elf king from a company which doesn't appear to exist anymore.
Well,
So
I mean, that's usually the case with those kind of boutique minis, especially if they're even remotely old. That's usually what happened. They came up, they made a couple sculpts, then they went away.
yeah, the last Facebook post they have is of releasing this mini in February of 2018. It is a very Warhammer style elf king. People can see my Facebook and like social media posts about it. I'm going to be doing something a little bit special just to like fulfill that urge. Chuck has his witch elves and I have my high elves.
Well, let's face it, we're all glad they're dead. So there you go. They
Uh-huh.
deserved it, and now this is finally justice. And I don't think really what's been amazing about it is how few people want any kind of high elves to return. I think that's wonderful to see
So
that they
speaking of
have
which,
no support.
I went into my Games Workshop today. I picked up some battle tomes and some orders, and people were asking me about, so are giants an army that's coming? And I just yelled at the top of my lungs, Vince!
Yeah, that's right. I think we can confirm that yes, they are, and the elves are going to actually come back as giants. I think
Uh-huh.
those two things were absolutely confirmed in the article, no question about it.
There we
So
go.
just count
All
it,
right.
put it on the board now.
I'm technically working on a giant elf, a 75 millimeter scale
See,
elf.
there you go. You're already in theme. That is true. That's amazing.
All right, so that's what I'm working on.
All right, Joe, what about yourself? What are you working on, buddy?
Well, Maw Tribes just came out and I play Beast Claw, so I got a terrain piece for my army.
Mm-hmm.
And
See, you're better than orcs. That's what that says right there, because you have a
ugh,
terrain piece.
I mean,
So,
let's get away here. But so I got this Maw pot, right?
yes.
And if your terrain piece, some terrain pieces are better than others, but if it's lacking, you have to make it bigger and more impressive looking, and then it feels like it has better rules. So we got a maw pot, and I'm going to put this on this, and it will be it'll be like the exact same base size, and so it'll be like a thunder tusk with a maw pot on its back, and that'll be the terrain piece.
Arguably, perhaps one of the better uses for a Thunder Tusk in the new book. So
now I think it's actually the best use but it'll look really cool, and isn't that like why we do this? So.
It is why we do this. You're absolutely right. Thank you, everybody, in the chat, by the way. Much appreciated. Thank you all very much. Yes, Steve, I do hope to fill up the next... Well, I've only got another 15 years in me, so that's all I've got, I'm sure. I'm like the Cyclops and Krull. But at any rate, yes, I'm looking forward to see what I can do over the next years. Marak, what's on your desk, man? What are you working on?
I'm sculpting a mask onto a werewolf who's going to be the great Bray shaman in my Wolves of Chaos army.
Marak, I don't want to say you're predictable, because I would mean that only as a compliment. But I could have literally said, I should have opened my question with, Marak, what type of wolf thing are you sculpting right now? And that would have been, and like, I could have nailed that. That's a real miss on my part.
If you would have like asked that question 20 minutes ago, it would have been bases. I made a bunch of bases.
Nice. Nice. Excellent. Nothing wrong with making some bases. That's obviously what I'm working on. I have my new little palette cam here, so you all probably can't see it. If you're watching the stream, you can see it, but
I will mute my phone and look at my phone to see it.
Oh, you're all right. You're all right. Looks like we're okay. Yeah, there we go. I just realized, I was like, wait, why did the video stop? Did it do that thing? No, dumb. You just paused the video on the screen you're watching it on. Because technology is what I'm good at. That's me. That's me and tech.
Oh, wow, that looks great, Vince.
Yeah, it's I got a new little camera specifically for doing this because I thought, well, it'll be fun to do. Like, there may be reasons to want to do this on occasion, so where I can actually stream and show what I'm working. I just got to figure out, I'll probably have to adjust the height so I can get closer, but this is fine enough for this kind of a stream.
And what base is that for, can you not say?
Oh, I can say, sure. I don't mind at all. I don't generally keep... I'm not Tom. I'm not, like, trying to keep whole armies secret because my list tech is so incredible that no one else could have ever thought of what I'm doing.
I meant more like as a painter thing, because some people, like, hide stuff from competitions, or if you're working on a project for, like, I don't know, what the White Dwarf Challenge or something, I don't know.
Well,
so I just,
sure.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever not been able to... There's 2 times I've been able to not share a project. One was the White Dwarf Challenge because you're not allowed to. You agree to not share it until they publish it in the White Dwarf. And 2 is a thing that I haven't shared yet. So, really, but I kind of did. So there you go. Yes, I finished up my boat. So here's this is my Free Guild General and Griffin. So this
yes, in the Magitech army.
Yeah, this is his Griffin.
Gotcha.
And you can see that because right here it says SS Griffin.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So that way there'll be no confusion which one the Griffin is. It's the one that says Griffin on it. If you just write it, you're fine. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this has come out to a degree. I kind of hated this thing in the middle of it, and I'm still not sure I like it. But obviously, there'll be a guy on the front, and so now I'm just working on the base because the guy's a little small to do detail work on while we're sitting here hanging out. So that's
fine. I may say, it reminds me of that Magic expansion. I think it was called Kaladesh. That was the one with all of like the very whimsical airships. I don't know if you remember seeing like stuff of it in stores when you buy your product.
I'll go to Joe. Joe, is that correct? Is that the name?
It was somewhat of a clockwork. Clockwork punk India is how I would describe the setting. It was pretty cool, actually.
Nice. That's cool. Yes, I will openly admit it's been some years. I still like look every so often at new Magic cards. I look at the new sets that get released, but they don't stick. You know what I mean? Because it's been years and years since I've actively played. So now it's just like me looking and going, oh, that's a neat thing that they're doing. That's cool. I like that mechanic. When they introduced like quests or whatever or not whatever they're called, sagas, I think, whatever it was in that set, I thought that was a fun looking little thing. So just that kind of stuff. But yes, nice. Yeah, I like I'm not. It's not that I'm a huge fan of like some kind of steampunk aesthetic, or I'm obsessed with that. I'm really not. Probably in the end, it was just something that grabbed me as a fun, uh, as a fun concept for an army, and that's what you want in the end, right? You just want something that seems interesting. So there you go. Right on.
Absolutely.
All right, so gentlemen, let's. I think we should just continue with. We've got a few different items here on the docket. Oh, there you go. Okay, so Jack has a question for you, Joe. What is the drawing behind you of?
Would that be the green framed picture?
Well,
That he's referring?
I assume so. There's 3 interesting pieces of art behind
Yeah,
you
there are
in
quite
your
a few of
frame.
them. Let me look at my own reflection here. So I have an Omar Ryan painting, which is the guy with the giant horns that has a little bird on top of them, and it's just an artist I like, and I met at Gen Con a long time ago. And then I have Clayman from the Neverhood, which is a Douglas Tenaple claymation video game that he made after Earthworm Jim.
Ah, okay. It does look Earthworm Jim-ish. Yes, okay.
Gem, like it's I don't know, it came out in '98 or something like that, and I found it really creative and interesting, just all around. I think it was the first fully like stop motion claymation video game. I think it was the first one of that, and I got an original ink and charcoal from him on that, and so I keep it with me always. And then the other one here, the big one behind me, is the poster you could send away from Mike Ditka's Power Football for the Sega Genesis. It is like so ridiculous that it's got like some, I think, bears are like tackling the Packers in it, and I don't know, it just like Mike Ditka's Power Football became a meme, I suppose, amongst me and my friends, and it has ridiculous quotes from him on it, like 16 megs of power is all I need to win games or something like that. And you could send away for the poster, and one of my friends actually found it and gave it to me, like all these years later.
Amazing.
And so I have the original game like kind of right in front of it.
Sure. Nice. I love how the first 2 things are like very artistic and like interesting, unique, highbrow expressions of sort of this different sort of takes on different kinds of art, but still very artistic nonetheless. And then a 90s video game. Sega Genesis poster. That's
it
amazing.
was painted. It's an oil painting.
It is an oil painting. Yes, that's what's funny too, because it was kind of blocked out, and I couldn't. I was like, oh, it must be some nice oil painting of something, because it does. I could see just like the outer edge of them. That's amazing.
Look, you have high art, you have cartoon art, and then you have memes, and that's me.
The 3 modern forms of art. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, well, guess what? And Andreas, happy birthday. He said Andreas said it's his 40th birthday today too. That's amazing. There you go. Well,
cool.
An auspicious occasion. You were born on a good day. There you go. This is a good day to be born. It's nice. You get to Thanksgiving comes on your birthday once every like 7 years, depending on leap years. So it's nice. Kind of depends on the year, but there you go. This year's the farthest away we get. So let's talk about sort of this. Let's talk about this current world we're living in with Warhammer. Okay, let's just have a little AOS discussion, shall we, gentlemen?
Okay.
All right.
So what I want to talk about is the following. This has been a good year, right? I think we can all agree on that. Overall, this has been a pretty good year for releases and getting stuff out there. There's been some hits, there's been some misses, but on the whole, pretty good year. Fair statement?
It's a prodigious year, I would even say.
Indeed.
For really.
12 books.
Yeah. It's incredible. Like AOS players are going to have to learn not to get used to this eventually, because there is a 40K game that this company also makes.
Yeah. Although they've had quite a bit of releases too. To be
I guess
fair.
they're just blasting.
Sure.
Oh my God, Letterkenny, yes.
Of course. Yes, obviously, all about that show. What would you? So here you go. You get to be king for a day, all right, and you're gonna give them one piece of advice for the new year? What is it? Like with the bookmaking, with the direction they're going, what's your thing? If we're on a sort of inspect and adapt mind frame, what would you tell them they need to work on, focus on, improve on, add, whatever, do? What's your message there?
Don't start with me.
All right, I'll start with whoever you want. It's up to whoever has an idea can talk first.
I have an idea.
Uh,
I have an idea, but I'm scared to say it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll go.
Go ahead, Marok.
I would like to see them move even further down the path of like when you look at a model and then you look at its rules, the rules make sense to what the model is. I want to see that like even more and like take it to 11. Let's see some like crazy shit.
Okay. So, in other words, you're saying really push the verisimilitude. You want to make sure that that remains. So if we get when we get our giant angel elves, right? You want to see things like their ability to use their size, their wings to win combats, that kind of stuff. Is that sort of thing?
Hell yeah. I want to see rules where it's like, I don't know, let's say they've got a special rule called Gust where they just like at the start of the combat phase, you can make the choice to roll a dice or not. On the roll of like a 4 or a 5, move the enemy back 4 inches.
Sure, things like that. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I will say that, all the joking about the angel giant elves aside or whatever, I would love to see them actually give a take on like biblical style angels at some point.
Yeah, a bunch of wings.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like what was the magic set that had all the really weird, like kind of whacked out angels? The ones that were like
That might have been a new Phyrexia kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was. Yes. Yeah.
Like some Elashinornian, odd instead of even number of wings and kind of almost like freakish alien looking thing because they're not at all.
Yes.
Yeah, like
whatsoever.
The Seraphim and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I would just love to see a take like that. Not that I don't love the classic angel, because I do, and I'm very excited because speaking of finding old things, Emily recently found the statue that was for Sarah Angel that was made, like the special edition statue of Sarah Angel that's like 8 inches tall that was made, and she's gonna hook me up with that so I can do a repaint on it, which I am very excited about. Because Sarah Angel is the best angel ever. I mean, I that was the card that officially sealed my way into Magic right there, back in the 90s. I saw that and I was like, oh, this is amazing. So there you go. All right, good. No, I like that.
How big is it?
It's like 8 inches tall. It's huge. It's really big. It's a big statue.
Oh,
I think it'd be
amazing.
the equivalent of like a 75 mil, basically. It wasn't really made to be in scale by modern anything, but it's sizable. Yeah.
I don't have anything to tell them sculpt wise. They're really just kind of outdoing themselves over and over. And even it's not just like they keep going bigger and bigger. Like what we saw with the new Chaos Warriors, for instance, like that could have been arguably some people think Varanguard might be over designed or busy, we'll say,
Sure.
But they're showing restraint when they need to, but still making stuff interesting and still tying it back to the originals. Like, for instance, the Ogre Tyrant is still very Mongolian and still, harkens to the earlier models, but is still, now that they're on circle bases, they're allowed a little room to breathe as far as poses work. And that was one of the biggest, I think, changes moving to AOS that I really appreciate.
Right.
Is there's, the models aren't so like kind of boxed in a little bit because they're not having to be ranked up so close. And so, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing on the models, obviously.
Right.
As far as books,
yes,
I think a little more consistency might be in order. I hate to be a wet blanket here, but
that's okay. We can always inspect and adapt. That's the idea.
There might be a group of books that seem designed under the idea that this is how like interesting and how many boundaries we can push and how like powerful a book can be. And then there's another set of books that have a different idea of about like what the power level of AOS should be, and they're kind of at odds with each other, and there's a gap there.
I was going to say
Maybe
something
a little
similar.
more like communication inter-team, or some overruling body that can really just look at everything and be like, okay, now let's consider the entire landscape and just kind of smooth some stuff over there. But then again, I make videos complaining about balance, so of course I would say that.
It's on brand for you. That's all right.
It's on brand.
You got to stay on brand. And thank you to everybody who's saying happy birthday. That's amazing and so much appreciated. All right, Martin, what's your thing?
I just to add on to Haywo's thing, because I was going to say something similar. I just didn't want to be like the party pooper.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Look, this is done in a friendly nature. This is constructive
Yeah.
criticism.
No, yeah, I do enjoy.
Like,
I
just
do.
slide aside. Let me say that real quick. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like really, I want to drill in on this, but not to interrupt. But I just want to drill on this real quick. You know, if I go to like a painting competition or something, do however I do, it doesn't matter. Win, lose, place, don't, medal, don't, doesn't matter. I still get feedback from the judges, and it's always going to be like, the feedback is going to be like, well, I like this. This is nice. This thing's here, but here's what you can do better. We can always keep improving. There's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to keep introspecting and improving. That's just what we should always be doing in our life and our professional career and everything, right? Like that's just, we should be on a journey of improvement always. At any rate, continue.
Yeah. So the one thing I will say, it's like I really do enjoy the commitment to like sort of finishing up the reboot this year. And I know we're about 3 books away. I think like Seraphon, KO, and Zinch. I think are the last ones that still have the AOS 1 banner on them. And it's like I did not expect that. And as someone who grew up in Warhammer Fantasy, like I picked up Warhammer Fantasy like in 2010, and I was used to so in that entire time I played Fantasy until like AOS for like 5 years. I got 2 books, and so it was like I got High Elves were like that was their book from like 2000, and then they got another one in 2013, and then the world blew up. So the fact that like all of these things, like and not just like moving along the balance of the game, because this is a strategy game, and we are enjoying like these constant updates and new armies. Like I don't think anyone really expected Bone Reapers when the open day came around, where it's like, what could that be? So it's like when Haywood was talking about them no longer having to be in these rank and flank poses. I just finished painting 30 Graveguard. They all have the same exact pose. You cannot build them another way, and they are built to be diagonally in front and back of one another. Mm-hmm. And I painted High Elves for the longest time, which are just like cool chess pieces. They have their spear, which is either sort of forward or upright. All of the Sword Masters, they are 1 pose models because their sword is upright. When they revisit them and they get to put all of these models on 35, 40, 50 millimeter bases, they're going to be all over the place with sorts of detail and wind direction and stuff I can't wait to paint. So it's like, I keep doing that. It's great. But after playing now Stormcast and then Legions of Nagash at a few events, which are 2018 tomes, I would like to see some things like Free Cities, where a little bit more future-proofing is, I think, the best way to put it into like one word. Where if you guys have, if the developers have an idea of where they want to take the game, I think that they should at least put some goodies in the books to think about that. Where it's like, well, this is all this army's going to get for maybe like now instead of 5 years, it's 2 years. You know what I mean? And it would be nice if I felt like I was bringing a decent book to an event instead of, well, I have a 2018 book which has answers to 2017 problems, and we're living in a 2019 world. Like a lot of these armies have pile in and attack twice abilities, and I don't know if I think there's one trick which Legions of Nagash has that does that, and nothing that Stormcast does. So. I mean, I'm glad I'm not a game designer because it just took me 5 minutes to say all that, and I'm sure someone who actually knows what they're doing would be able to articulate that a lot better.
Well, it's fair. And I agree. Like the Slaves to Darkness to me it's an interesting case because I love new stuff. And like joking aside on the giant angel elves, like if they really did do a giant army, or whenever the Heish elves, whatever shape they take, come out, or like I
And
love the idea.
I'm all over that. Like
Of
I'm
course,
waiting.
of course.
Oh yeah, giant elven women is no joke.
Uh,
I would love anything like that. I love the idea of what the Mortal Realms gives us to explore. I've talked many times about how my world of choice in in this stuff is Planescape. So Planescape was always my favorite thing in D&D. I love the variance of it, the philosophy of it, the way that the planes, if like, and by the way, so much of like the Mortal Realms is like, I don't want to say sourced, but uh, homage echoes of the same ideas. Where like if you're on a plane, that plane tends to have its impact on you. It pushes back. It's not just a place you live, right? Same here with the Mortal Realms. So like I love the idea that they're huge and vast, and that we can just introduce whole new races, armies that just weren't really there, or they're hidden because no one can ever really conquer all of it, right? Also, it'll be a lot harder for Chaos to blow this one up. That's tough. So it's pretty big. It's tougher to explode. So they got that going for them.
And I'm surprised that my thread about the elves, like after that article dropped, I'm surprised it got as many hits as it did. Even though I tried to show, like the first post is the conspiracy board from It's Always Sunny. Like this is supposed to be a joke. Like these aren't really clues, but they could be. And a lot of people were like picked up on that and are excited. So when it does drop, I think it'll be well received by the community.
But at the same time, I'm super excited about that Slaves to Darkness re-release. Release, because they really did reinvigorate those models, but they still feel like those models. They feel like that.
Hell yeah, those new
Chaos Warrior
Warrior
and Chaos Knight I've always loved, just through a modern lens of design, right? Yeah, go ahead, Rock.
Speaking of
the new Chaos Warriors are freaking sweet. Like,
yes, they are. They're amazing. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of Planescape, Tony DiTerlizzi's art was a big part of that, and for me, it's probably formative art. It was some of the first like art that I really got into, and like tried to meet him at Gen Con and stuff. Like, Planescape was completely awesome.
Let me ask you a question. Did you end up meeting him at Gen Con?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I met him a few years, and he's one of those guys. His wife is super cool. He's super cool, and he actually remembered my name from one year to the next, which is impossibly impressive to me, because I'm the kind of person that shakes someone's hand and asks what their name is, and they say words, but they just disperse.
Right.
Like it's immediately gone. I have
candy.
trouble remembering people's names.
Yeah.
I can somehow remember like 20,000 magic cards and most of the war scrolls and all these details, but somebody's name, it's just gone. So to me that was one of those impressive things. I guess he's just always meeting people, so he gets a bunch of practice, but no, he was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like that is honestly one of the better and cooler things about Gen Con, is just meeting all those artists who, by the way, so often get ignored. It's shocking to me. Like, I would bet there was nobody at his booth or whatever when you walked up, or there was maybe like one other person standing there talking to him. All the times I've gone and talked to the artists that I love and that I'm mind blown to talk to, there's like maybe one person there, maybe nobody. It's just kind of like not much going on. And I'm just like, wow, how is this happening?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that's maybe because
in the early 2000s, and I'm just like, how is no one talking to you? Like, this is crazy.
Right. Go ahead, Marok. What were you going to say?
You were going to say something?
Do you think that's maybe because people are like intimidated to go and talk to these like crazy good painters?
No, I don't.
No, I think they just don't want to get roped into buying something, and they're just they're like, oh, okay, this is the art aisle. I'll just turn around now.
Yeah,
I really think it's just that, like, they're not interested.
Yep. I think that's exactly right. I mean, you watch like the Artist Alley in at Gen Con, which by the way is just full of so many amazing people, and like I met him as well. I don't know how to say his last name. Tony.
Yeah, Peter Lizzie.
Yes, thank you. He has a very complicated last name, and I'm bad at names. But he, again, I completely agree with you. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. His art is so, like, integral to me and to why I loved that world, right? He
Yeah.
just, the way he brought it to life. So for example, like, Modern are one of my favorite things, I guess, ever. Okay.
And who did he paint for?
Well, it would have been TSR back in the 90s. Yeah, he was doing.
Yeah, for Planescape and a lot of the second edition Monster Manual.
Yep.
Oh, so this is
Most
for
of the
D&D.
watercolor looking stuff was him.
Yes, he just had a wonderfully imaginative. He's the one who ended up doing what's the very famous
Torchwick.
What's that?
Torchwick?
Yes.
I think.
Yes. There you go. So like he's done a bunch of other stuff outside of that in like realms where other people would come to know him, but like his
Really
style
fairy
is just
tale
so
style.
unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, but I was just D&D was what I was looking for.
Gotcha. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And like Modern are pretty much the greatest thing in the history of the world, and the reason that race, that species, that whatever looks as cool as it does is because of basically his reimagining, right? Because when you look at the earlier art before that of them, it's shall we say dumb.
Yeah.
And then he came in and took this silly concept of living, shapes, basically, right? Cubes and circles and triangle people, and just made them amazing and funny and weird and just awesome all at the same time. So just, yeah, I love everything about that guy's work. But like him, Elmore, I walked out, like Phil Foglio, who was another one from like early Magic cards, was an absolute hero of mine. Because he always had just the most wonderfully creative, hilarious art that always made you smile,
Yeah, Foglio was a little pulpy, like pulp humor.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was fun.
Like his what was the one of the like goblin, it was like artisans or something. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but the one with them all sitting there looking at blueprints that I always thought was just like the funniest piece of art. So anything goblin related in Magic was always pretty fun. Yeah, so exactly, it's a great excuse. I'm sad now when I go there and I see that most of them are like most of the artists have to do basically like Magic card art. Like that's the thing now, just selling little dollar special art cards.
And then some dude walks up
Star
with
Trek
a stack of
convention.
100 cards and is like, "Can you please sign all these in the same way? Thank you." And
Right.
just leave.
If I just may like inject a little bit of like a maybe a positive note. So I went to a Star Trek convention on my birthday weekend with my mother, and for those who don't know, my mother used to help run WorldCon. WorldCon this is for the audience. Sorry,
You're fine.
I've already told the story to Vince and Joe and everybody. WorldCon is the original
Martin
science
has
fiction.
famously cool parents. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, actually.
WorldCon is the original science fiction and fantasy literature convention. You can go look it up on Wikipedia. I think they started in 1929, and the only years they were not running were the years of World War II. And they used to have like original like artists like Asimov. Like you can go find this stuff on YouTube because the earliest days of the internet, all of those web zoned like the earliest websites, they're all still online. You can all of the stuff is still Googleable. So like Asimov, Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote Starship Troopers, the original book.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Heinlein, there we go.
Yeah.
Heinlein and people like that. And all of them would be guests of honor. And those the conventions like Worldcon transformed into starting Star Trek and the Star Wars conventions. And so I went to one of these. They're generally you have to be in the fandom to understand where these are. It's not like a lot of these I would say have embraced social media as well as full gaming events have. And so I went to this one in Maryland. I think it's Hunt Valley. It was called Shore Leave. And all of these old school style dealers rooms were just people who either at one point in time worked professionally as artists or had might just be someone who has a lot of talent and once a year, when they're not selling their stuff online, has a booth at these conventions. Not only do they make like just art, like portraits, but you can buy like carved boxes, goblets. Like there are silversmiths, there are leather crafters, any sort of like imaginative, like cool stuff you can think of. It's for sale at these conventions. I really recommend them for people.
Nice.
Yeah.
And yes, like 1 million people shouted out Heinlein in the comments. So there you go. Good. Our
There
audience.
you go.
I'm glad to see our audience is well informed.
Yes.
Although, look, speaking of Starship Troopers, I'm just going to say real quick, I do love the movie and find it to be a wonderful piece of satire that I think is underrated. So there you go. That's what I'll say about Starship Troopers.
Oh, it's completely amazing anti-fascist satire, and the greatest irony of all is that the audience didn't realize it when it came out.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, you watch it. I don't know how people miss it. Like, it's just...
It's so...
It's like one of the least subtle things Verhoeven ever did, and yet sometimes I guess it's one of those troubles of satire. How do you... The line between satire and seriousness can sometimes be easily lost, I suppose.
I mean, even RoboCop was pretty blatant, but it was more low key than Starship Troopers was.
Right. Absolutely. So, returning back, you know what I think my singular thing would be? I think my singular thing, if I had to pick sort of kind of one piece, and I'm assuming I'm not going to double up because I like all of yours. Okay. I think my one thing I would say is I want to see something truly like unique in the next year. And what I mean by that is like the world of Warhammer, especially as it was the world that was, has often been very tightly constrained to some classical fantasy concepts. Now, stuff like chaos demons and things like that have done good. Those aren't original, but they're still good concepts that were fleshed out into original ways. Like, I understand that, a lot of the concepts of the chaos demons and those kind of gods were really drawn from like Michael Moorcock and stuff like that. But I would love to see something that I look at and I just never would have seen coming. Some sculpt, some army, something that just feels completely the Mortal Realms. Deepkin were great, but they're still just elves. They're wet elves, but they're still just elves, right? I want to see something that's not an elf, that's not Tolkienian in any way. To me, like the revelation I had the first time I saw Modron, or that kind of a thing where it's just such a whacked out concept, right? So yeah, something like that. And
they built up to it. They're ready.
They've come close a couple of times.
Oh sure, like we're getting there. We're primed, right?
Yeah,
we're ready for this.
They finally got all the old stuff out of the way. So like now's their chance. If they've been building up to it, they put themselves in the position to start doing it.
Yeah. Like, truly do something that is the Mortal Realms, that is unique, that is you guys. Like, let one of the sculptors, let Tom Walton or somebody just go nuts. Get Darren in there and have him just go completely crazy with the most whacked out idea he's had, and just say, okay, this is the time. What do you got?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that said,
like that. Yes.
So with that said, what would be your like craziest, most whacked out idea?
Oh my God, it's so hard, right? Because it's like saying create something. Just to return to the idea of this, it's so hard to make something truly original, like Modron, or like when Dark Elves, sort of like Drow in D&D came. And there's been a couple times like that where they've made Shadar-kai, were probably one, where they made a race, they made this new thing, cut from whole cloth, sort of, and it just hit. I remember there was a great article about things that had traction, and like they were seeking when they were doing 3rd edition, they were trying to make new races that had traction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wherein it became something like that, where people got obsessed with it. And Rosewater did an article about this too. At some point when he was talking about how he never knows what's going to hit in the specific elements in Magic cards, like especially within art and things like that. Because there's like wasn't there some little homunculus in a set years
he's
ago?
talking about Fibblethip.
Yes, Fibblethip.
Yeah.
That was a surprise, but they just let it go in there because oftentimes the little details are what people fall in love with, like what he talks about in his speeches.
Yes, exactly. So Fibblethip was like a little weird, one-eyed homunculus. He kind of looked like Mike Wachowski, right, from Monsters Inc. a little bit.
Yeah.
And he just like became this sort of weird mascot that people really loved seeing him. And so they just started slipping him into more cards as time went by.
But always in the background of the art or like the flavor text of it. Like it was never like a spell. They never made like Fibblethip's Revenge or, things like that. For most of the life of this thing's popularity, people would just try to find him in the background of art and like knit pillows and stuff out of him and make fan art and stuff. And eventually they did turn him into a card, so now there's a Fibblethip that you can play, but it took a long time to get to that place.
Right.
And it naturally arose.
Mike Wachowski looks like him, not the other way around.
Sorry, fair enough. I didn't mean to impugn Fibblethip in any way. I do apologize. But yeah. So the point is it's hard to say, and I get it, that's the risk, right? You make a whole new army and it doesn't hit. Right? Like the advantage to just doing like more elves and dwarves and crap like that is that as rote as those concepts are, they've stood the test of time. You know what I mean? Like they're good for a reason. The reason when people try to rewrite Superman, it usually fails is because Superman's a good idea. He just clicks. Like he's correct already. He's very hard to improve upon in any way, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason
I really
want a famous thing for 80 years in our culture. Go ahead.
Yeah. I really want to see like them do like I want to see them bring all of this new technology that they have to make these amazing miniatures and put it into one army. Like I like we almost had it with Beastclaw Raiders. I want to see the monster army. Like I want to see just
Kaiju.
Huge lumbering beasts moving across the fucking table and just mowing shit down. Like it's
You
like
want the
the
kaiju
one
army.
thing it's missing.
Like Age of
what?
Sigmar Knights, where it's like you got these 5 like crazy kaiju creatures,
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean that is the thing, right? Like there is that missing hole in AOS of it would be neat if we actually legitimately had a sort of knight equivalent. I think the closest thing right now is probably in BCR and FEC, right, where you can run like the 5 big flappies or the 6 monster trucks. Like, that's knight-esque, right?
And then use that to segue like, well, what fights these things then? What hunts them? What does whatever, right? Like use it to move into something else afterwards.
They have god beasts in the lore, right? So there's even a full tie-in there. It could be like Children of the God Beasts or something like that. Like
Right.
It's already
right.
already in the
Yeah.
And by the way, I would argue that this space can be found. Here's my proof: Spheranx. Okay. That Spheranx model that they revealed, that was like at the same time they showed the Slaves to Darkness.
Oh, the demon llama.
Yeah, the cat llama demon. That thing was incredible. Like that thing was amazing looking. And
I liked it.
Is LOV in the chat raised a good point. Like, is anything truly original? Isn't everything derivative of something? Sure. I mean, of course, yes. But at the same time, you can still have a good take on something that makes it feel like a breath of fresh air, that makes it feel original, right?
I would say a good example of something that's like a breath of fresh air, which like captivated like a generation of imaginations, was Fallout. What if you take Mad Max plus the Jetsons? And that was like, oh my God! And it became this thing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that is Star Wars, right? It's completely derivative and yet absolutely captivating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just World War II movies that are, some of which are shot for shot re-put in with space lasers and stuff, right? But like,
Mm-hmm.
It's
Some Kurosawa.
World War II plus Flash Gordon plus Kurosawa equals space opera Star Wars, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but so sometimes it's just about combining, or sometimes it's about reframing and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of different options. By the way, people are talking in the comments. Let's look at some comments here about our viewers' original ideas.
Frogs. Let's not look at the comments.
All right, so let's see. All right, I'm just going back to the beginning. Duckanoids. All right, yep. So duck people, sure. That's just the thing. A lot of it's just like, well, let's make different animal people, and animal people are just like, okay. Although, given I was captivated by like Lupin from Red Steel when I was a kid. I don't know if anybody else knows what Red Steel is. It was a D&D world. You want to hear a fun story about Red Steel? Here's a fun one. This is my show. I can talk about whatever I want. Here's a fun story. I loved Red Steel. It was one of my favorite campaign worlds to play in when I was a teenager. And in my moves over college, I managed to keep most of my D&D books, but somewhere I lost my Red Steel box set. So this last year, like 3 months ago or whatever, at Gen Con, I went to I went to the booth, found a nice mint cherry copy of Red Steel, and bought myself a replacement. Right? I was like, I like this thing. It's not that expensive. I'll get myself a new copy of Red Steel. Fair enough. So I'm leaving the convention. This is on Sunday, end of the day, checking out of the hotel. And
It's now back.
is it? Okay. So anyway, so he looks down. This guy looks down. He says, "Oh, do you like Red Steel?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I loved it when I was a teenager." Blah blah blah. I repeated the same thing I just did. And he said, "That's cool. I wrote that." And it was Tim, the guy who wrote Red Steel. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" So he and I had this short conversation. It was great to meet him. I still need to reach out to him and like go find him on Facebook or something and say hello. But it was just awesome to meet this dude, and completely random. The guy who wrote the module was staying in my hotel and happened to walk outside in the 2 minutes I'm standing there, and then he walks away, and then all my friends come out and they're like, "All right, you ready to go?" I was like, "You guys will never believe what just happened. That was crazy." So, and I have no proof of this, so I could totally be lying, but I'm not lying. So there you go. Anyway. That was a long tangent, but that's what this is for.
Yeah, we were talking about what we wanted at a Warhammer, and what you want is like crawfish people with like Magitech guns.
Yeah, but see, that's not like, I don't just want to like take people plus animals
Yeah, an
and slam
animal.
them together.
Yeah, furry
right?
things. Yeah, it needs to be more abstract.
So let's see, elemental armies, meh, and like. So Dave said all fantasy tropes have been utterly exhausted. I'm not seeing anything groundbreaking for decades. I think that's being ungenerous, man. Like, there's a lot of groundbreaking stuff out there. Go look at like what Monty Cook is doing, or people like that. Like, they've made some really incredible worlds with really interesting takes on fantasy, and just really really interesting stuff. But I mean, the reality is the audience seems to just want mostly the same stuff, right? That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Is it's not a challenge of can people create it. It's does anybody actually want this different, interesting stuff? Or are people just going to keep wanting more elves and dwarves and orcs and stuff?
Maybe we should dip into. I don't want to be like weeaboo alert or weeb alert. A lot of typical Tolkien fantasy is based on Western like folklore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we want to dip in not just Japanese stuff, because a lot of pop culture has had Japan fever for the past 20 years, maybe like China or Southeast Asia, like things from like weird stuff out of Thailand and like all of these places where it's like what sort of magical creatures did they conjure up like 2,000 years ago? And
Sure.
something like that I think is ripe for like creating in fictional worlds.
Sure. No, absolutely. Chaos halflings, Slann with laser pistols and swords, cat llamas, skeleton halflings, frog and turtle people. I'm just looking back through our options. Yeah, we'll be back. I don't know why that's happening, folks. I've tried like 10 different settings to make it stop doing that. I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's doing that. So there you go. But I'll keep messing on with it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I do still want to see a true gold faction too. Absolutely. Like
A gold faction?
yes, a gold faction, like a singular faction that is valid under 2 different Grand Alliances. Okay.
Okay.
So, like, an example of that might be something like there's a person who's in Order, but they're secretly also a Chaos Servant, and you can play them as an Order army or as a Chaos.
Yeah. I was waiting for in the original like Age of Sigmar stories, like boom, year 1 out of the gate. Yeah, there's no points, but we're gonna keep telling the story anyway. Manfred gets away from Stormcast with zombie ogres, and I was waiting for there to be a way to have like some sort of battalion where you can take Manfred von Karstein and zombie ogres, and they could double dip into different Grand Alliances, because that's a thing. Like a Lord Relictor has an argument with the soul of an ogre because it is too dumb to know that it passed away, and it was kind of funny.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I thought you meant when you were like dipping into 2 different Grand Alliances.
Yeah, it's more that just like and also when it comes to like culture things, I think the answer there is just why limit yourself to 1. Like they already started playing with this in the they already started playing with this with stuff like with the Bone Daddies, right? Where it's hard to source them to 1 culture, but you can feel lots of influences from different ones.
That's what I also liked about Warhammer's interpretation of High Elves, is that you can tell this is sort of Tolkien turned up to 11, but that's only accurate up to a certain point. There's a little bit of Persia, there's a little bit of like these different terrestrial analogs, and I know that sort of thing like puts you to sleep because you wanted like more imagination instead of it just being like, but the old world of Warhammer was in like great swaths based on old like medieval cultures. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. It was certainly derivative. I agree.
Yeah. And in certain ways, I did appreciate that in terms of how the end product was achieved with High Elves, and I hope that they stick with that at least a little bit. But who knows? Because I think for like they I don't want to quote Rob because like Rob Symes in one of his videos with when he did his old world video, and and I don't know if he has information I don't, or if he was just like because he actually worked for Games Workshop I did not, and he said that a lot of he equated sorry, let me put it this way. He said that the reason they did the reboot of the setting was because of the Chapter House lawsuit, and they wanted to be able to copyright more things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's necessarily why they did it, because it's like there's a lot of reasons why they did it. And if you look at the 12 books that came out this year, like clearly absent are the most Tolkien-inspired races out of all of the properties Games Workshop developed during Warhammer Fantasy. And now, like, specifically, those factions are the only ones left, and there's a lot more design space they feel comfortable exploring now that they've made really crazy armies like Deepkin, like KO, like Bone Reapers. So we will have to wait and see if they kind of play it safe, like Warriors of Chaos, where it's like we're going to tastefully update these models, or if they go really crazy, like really crazy.
It's very classy. Stay classy.
Yeah.
Tastefully
What happened?
Updating them.
Yeah.
I like the way you put that. It's just a fun way to put that.
It's not an insult. I was just like, that's kind of like they specifically said. It's like we didn't really want to mess with what Chaos Warriors look like.
Sure. Well, it should be pointed out that Chaos Warriors are like, they're the design, because like Chaos Warriors were what was like the big thing that got identified with them originally when they went and decided to do sci-fi. Like their goal was to create a silhouette and an image, a singular thing that did have as much traction and was as iconic as the Chaos Warrior, and that's where the Space Marine came from. Right?
Yes.
Like he was based on. They were trying to reimagine like a Chaos Warrior in this science fiction world, and so they came up with the Space Marine. And then we came back around, and obviously then we looked at the Stormcast Eternal, and that continues on, right? That continued.
Oh, yeah, there are swaths of Archaon, like classic Archaon's armor design. Like if you have the Archaon on foot or horseback, especially like in the legs and the hip plates, a lot of the Stormcast have that, but just with like more like fancy curves instead of the kind of unwelcome or like dangerous looking spikes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I say go nuts. Take them off the chain. That's what I say. Right on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I will do the Citizen Kane clap in the room at Adepticon if it is High Elves.
if you finally get your High Elf announcement,
Yes.
sure, it'll be like me when the Slaanesh announcement happened. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just hopefully not with the people. Like I get that the people were having fun, but during the sisters thing, they actually threw their wallets at Andy and Pete, and I was like, really?
I thought that was a different thing they threw their wallets at them for.
Yeah, that was for sisters,
Was
but
it?
like, yeah, that was for we were at Nova. We were sitting next to each other. They were right
I
behind
remember
us.
that. I remember them throwing their wallet. I just didn't think it was sisters related. I thought it was one of the other things they announced. But okay,
No, it was for sisters.
gotcha. Fair enough.
That
Yeah.
is actually pretty funny, though.
So wait, that's
They-
kind
they-
of funny, but
Yeah, a
They
couple
threw the-
guys stood up and literally tossed their wallets up at Andy and Pete, who then proceeded to take the money out of it and give it back to him. Like, I mean, like you throw somebody a wallet full of money, what do you think's gonna happen? I don't know what should know better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all. That's just a contribution.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
thank you. Your sister's box will be in the mail in 6 years.
Well, to be fair, they were giving everybody in that room a free Sisters of Battle figure, so which was pretty awesome. So that was pretty cool of them. That was a very nice thing.
Yes. Oh yeah. I hope that does not become a regular thing because I like that it was like the special thing that they were doing. I don't want people to be like, well, I definitely need to be in the room because they're probably going to give us a free model in the room.
Well, that's a free bonus once becomes an expectation. But yes, the real problem is going to be if I know for a fact that if a bunch of people put them on eBay, they won't do it again.
Yeah.
That's your real problem right there. So there you go.
eBay is a problem.
I mean, it is what it is. It's just like I get the dynamics of it, but I think you should probably like I get it if you want to go sell your thing. That's super cool. I'm fine with that. Like I understand. I'm not gonna be that guy who says like it's once it's your thing you can go sell it. But there were literally some of them on eBay within 10 minutes of that session ending.
Yeah, see, like I don't know if it's just
that just
like
feels in poor taste. Not saying don't eventually sell it on eBay. Maybe just like, wait like a little bit, like be kind of, don't spit in the face of somebody who just gave you a gift. It feels like is what you're doing there, kind of, So, like if you're
like I don't know if it's just because I'm of the type of person I am or not, but like that would be something that like if I had no use for it, I would give it to someone who would get some use out of it.
Of course.
Right? Like
yeah, absolutely. Yes, 100%. 100%. That like just to find somebody else at the con who didn't get to go to that and be like, "Oh, hey buddy, I know you like sisters." Like but maybe these people don't have any friends. I don't know. It's okay. Maybe you don't have friends.
That all being said, we are going to be going to Adepticon where it's normally 400 people in the room. It's going to be 1,000 this year. And I was in a chat, and a certain person who will be presenting there did not know it was 1,000 people. and he asked me to check again, and I just showed him the spreadsheet, and he was like, well, guess we'll definitely have an audience for our stuff then.
Hey, good.
Yeah. No, I just think it's like that's crazy. I've never I'm used to these being a little like smaller. Like 300 people in a room is one thing. 1,000 people in a room, that's almost like, well, it's not Hall H, but it's definitely big for Games Workshop.
Sure. Somebody had asked a hobby question, which was, what's a good undercoat for purple and pink miniatures? My answer would be a traditional zenithal, maybe with a little bit of purple, and an anti-zenithal, like shoot up from below with the purple, and that's perfectly fine for purple to pink. It sets the tone appropriately.
No flesh tone?
You're saying like, oh, for that, like use flesh tone as one of your higher highlights? You mean like
Yeah.
as part of the zenithal? Sure, you could. You can go nuts with that stuff. Like there's no, you could play all over the place. Like you could actually use a flesh tone if you wanted it to be softer and feel more warm and magenta. You could also use like an ice blue if you wanted it to feel kind of cold at the top but warm at the bottom, right? Go for like a deeper, warmer purple, but then use like a cold blue at the top. You know what I mean? Like you could go nuts. I don't think there is a bad answer to questions like that. It's just I mean, like there's some colors that just don't work, but my point is like you can kind of play around and have a good time with different recipes. It's always best to just experiment.
I actually have an interesting hobby question for you, Vince, but it might require a photo reference. So if you're going to be like, I need to see it, then I'll just ask you it later.
Go ahead.
So I'm working on the elf right now, and I want to incorporate like different elf themes, like elves from this universe and this one, just into one model. And for Elder Scrolls elves have sort of like yellow eyes, like if you took someone's eyeball and like dyed it like with a little bit of like iodine. So instead of a white, it's like this very kind of pale gold. Would you just, for like a miniature of the scale, just use like yellow eyes and then just dot it with like a very dark brown for the black? You know what I mean?
Are their eyes aren't actually gold? Their eyes are yellow, right? Like just like cat eyes.
No, like this is where I might need instead of the whites of their eyes, it's like sort of like a yellow brown, and then the actual where it would be eye color, it tends to be like either gold or green or blue or something like that. They don't actually have white in their eyes.
Yeah, I would just make it I would go for something deeper, like an ochre. It'll show up better. Yeah, like they look jaundiced. Thank you, Narcolepsy, in the comments. Yes, that's literally what I was thinking too. Is that they look jaundiced.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just I would use like a deeper ochre and just put a light coat over it. I'd actually do it in brown first, like a sort of warmer brown first, and then I would put the ochre over that, like just in the same way as you'd normally do like a darker, purple black or something like that, and then put the gray or ivory eyeball over it, so you have that nice dark line around it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'll be doing right now because I just finished the skin.
There you go. Somebody asked if I was drinking on my birthday. No, I don't drink at all. I haven't had a drop of alcohol for not quite 20 years, but almost. So there you go. I had a sip of alcohol to toast my wife at our wedding in 2003. So there you go.
So you were dancing with Adam at that last convention there. I saw a video, and that was with no drop of alcohol.
No, that's stone cold sober, buddy.
That's amazing.
Was that at Nova?
Yeah. I like I said, I have not been intoxicated or inebriated in any way, shape, or form for quite a long time. So yeah, no, it's great because I remember everything, people. When you're there at Nova and you're acting like a Looney Tune, I remember it all. So that's just a good way to make sure that I always stay on the top of the information war. Always got something to hold over people, just in case.
Vince has his own blackmail folder.
Yeah, a manila envelope. Yeah.
Tom asking about the CanCon classes. Because I'm teaching at CanCon. Yeah, I'm going to put together a little information packet for Travis to put out here very soon. I just needed some time.
Is Tom in the comments, but he can't make it to the stream?
No, different Tom. This is a Tom, a gentleman in Australia who is attending the classes I'm teaching at CanCon. I'm going to put together a little information packet for everybody for the 2 classes, so you know what to bring. So don't worry. Look for that soon.
Oh, this is turning out to be like way more than I bargained for. Ugh.
What is?
Oh yeah, when does Adepticon stuff go live? That's the
December
December.
8th.
There we go. You think that's the day after PAX? You're not going to PAX, right, Vince?
I do not.
Yeah. It's one of those weirder conventions. Like Games Workshop will be there, but they will be doing paint and takes and stuff. They are not running any events. The local Philadelphia clubs are running events. They're welcome to it. I did it last year, and am not doing it this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I will be playing though, so hopefully, I can continue my my streak of at least doing well with paint.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
Now Joe
this-
and Maroc are both. Oh, Maroc's still here. You're just a little bouncing ball now, which is fine.
Yeah, I turned my camera off because everything was going all stupid.
That's fine.
So
you
I
could be a
just-
wolf.
yeah.
It's just as much you. That image is just as much you.
So Vince, I have a
So,
question.
You brought this
Oh,
on yourself. But go ahead.
So I've been like, I had a local event or whatever that I went to, and I took this like really weird Beasts of Chaos list using the Dark Walkers,
Okay.
and
Nothing about that surprises
actually-
me so far.
yeah, it actually did like pretty good, like because it just jumped around the board, avoided as much combat as I could, and grabbed objectives and such. So it's kind of like ballooned into me redoing everything.
Okay.
And so like I went from having like a very small force with like some Bestigor and Ungor and stuff to now it's like 150 models. So I'm just like kind of overwhelmed with the amount of wolves that are sitting on my table right now.
Yep. So Rob asked, so real quick here, I'll talk to a couple different topics that went up. Let's see. Is your demonstration ogre from all of your videos making his final appearance for the army? No, he's still fine. He's right here. Homeboy's still good to go. He did not join the force. He might get converted someday into something special for the ogre army, but he's still here. He's actually not in the completed army back behind me over my shoulder here, which they're all up there now.
Demonstration ogre.
Yeah, the ogre who appears in so many of my videos. Like this little guy who's been repainted like 80 times. You can't.
Yeah, that guy.
Yes.
Used him for skin, used him for tattoos.
Absolutely. That guy, he's got a long and prodigious history. Absolutely. No, he's still around. He might get converted. If the reason was I didn't just want to make him some random glutton. That seemed insulting. So someday I'll probably, if I'm bored, I'll put it like I like working on characters for armies and just adding characters to my existing armies. It's just fun to kind of screw around and add additional characters. That's why I have basically 6 of every Skaven type of hero. Like I've got 6 Claw Lords and 4 regular engineers and 2 bombardiers and 6 assassins and blah 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 blah. Like 4 arch warlocks. Because it's just a fun side project to do stuff like that, to just hit a character up. So he'll probably get converted into a tyrant. He deserves to be a tyrant if he's gonna join in. He's been far too storied. He's got many big names.
It's probably like I got to imagine for you that's like just like a straight up palette cleanser, right? For
Exactly.
all the competition pieces.
Correct. Yep, that's exactly how I use it. And you're exactly right. Like when you're doing a lot of like competition models constantly, it gets like really overwhelming. And so it's just fun to like stop and paint something that's, by the way, it's the same for doing an army, right? I think we've all felt that. Where like if you're really, if you're really like locked in and working hard on an army for a long time, it just becomes a grind, right? So whether it's one force for a long time where you're not doing like 80 or 100 hours a model, or whether it's like you're trying to work on a golden demon model, you do have to put 120 hours into or something, and you just want to die in the middle. those little things where it's like, I'm going to take a day, maybe like 8 to 10 hours, and paint a Skaven hero. That's unbelievably relaxing. So.
Well, yeah, I imagine. Like, it's got to be nice just to like, okay, well, I don't really have a plan for going into this, so I'm just going to throw paint at it until I like how it looks. It's got to be hugely different from doing a competition piece where every single piece of the miniature is planned out ahead of time before you put paint to model.
Yeah, I don't know that I plan that much like that. I mean, kind of. I do a lot of pre-research is how I look at it. I think about colors. But I always end up changing things halfway through. Like, things end up moving. I don't think I've ever had a competition model that really came out exactly like I thought it was going to. It just ends up being that, like, you get into the actual paint, and you're like, oh, wait, actually, this thing would look better over here, or whatever. But I spend a lot of time looking at reference, more for, like, palettes and colors and things like that. So I get it. I'm a little from column A and a little from column B, right? There are people like
Yeah.
Ben Cantor who like will digitally do the whole model before he ever puts, paint to brush. And then he's basically just recreating what he did, what he spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on digitally creating. Which is cool.
I found that
he's good at that. I can't do that though.
I found that like after, like I sat down and watched like almost all of James Wapple's content that he's put out for the last little while, and I found that after doing that, it's like changed the way that I paint almost completely.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
just the way, like I'm using a size 6 brush now instead of
yes. Now you're in the right place.
Like much larger, and I find that I'm using like way thinner paint than I was before. I'm using more inks and stuff now. Like it's just, I don't know, and it feels liberating too, because I'm literally just chucking paint at the model until it looks the way I want it to, and it just, I don't know, it's much nicer than, all right, this color has to go here and it can't bleed out at all. And
right. No, it's such a more like sort of Bob Ross, just let it, just feel it kind of thing. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of ogres, Joe, have you gotten more games in with your ogres recently?
Yeah, beyond just Holy Havoc.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of test games and stuff like that. I wanted to really like get real games in, not real games, I suppose, because it was like empty bases and stuff, but you know what I mean, like proper 2K opponents trying to win,
right?
Stuff like that. I wanted to make sure and get like a decent amount of that in with at least most of the strategies or units. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can use this here or use that there. So I tried, I've done underguts with all the blasters, shooters, and a bunch of lead belchers and stuff. I've tried, the classic Slaughtermaster with gluttons and just seen how they work out, and they're fun. I tried an army with 24 iron guts.
Okay.
Like just gluttons, not big enough. Sorry. And I went with some of the, like, I did the meme, because everybody wants to do the meme, or at least I did, where it's 6 models. You have 2 Frost Lords and 4 Beast Riders.
Yep.
And it's okay exactly. And that's still 60 capturing bodies, technically.
Right.
Yeah,
I would think wound count is actually your biggest challenge there, not objectives anymore.
Yeah. But so it's like, it's not unreasonable to play that. That's the crazy thing is, it's not like hyper competitive or anything, but if you're, especially in deployment, like you deploy 6 Beast Riders, 6 Stonehorns in like pillars in a parking garage formation.
Sure.
Presents somewhat of an interesting problem for a lot of opponents who are like flowcharting it.
Right.
They're like, well, I buff this thing and I send it in and I use my bridge and it shoots their good thing. And then, I have my 2 other things to kind of protect the backfield, and then we're good. Like where they're maybe a little too formulaic, a better point and click, I suppose.
Right.
And then suddenly your opponent's just like, yeah, I run 6 300-point dudes with 5 up saves. And I them out like 8 inches between each other, just in a big line. And it doesn't matter what you attack because everything is the same.
And then once the game starts,
Objectives from Beastclaw now, which was a real killer before, where you would play armies like Flesh Eater Courts, and of course, you know, Grizzlegore general, you know, he's just like so crazy and he does a lot of damage and it's hard to kill him. But really, what killed you was all that board edge summoning, where you just had little guys kind of funneling in from here and there and just kind of standing near objectives. And so sometimes it's not the big splashy thing that kills you. And now it's like you can't just summon 10 guys and score a point by standing them like a Beast Riders. Or I can just have, 2 monsters just kind of charge in, and now that's 20 models. Like it's like the meme I made, you know, objectives are back on the menu, boys. Like we're playing actual Age of Sigmar here.
Right.
And for all their other problems, Might Makes Right allows Beastclaw to play actual Age of Sigmar, like the way that you try to win the game. And that's a huge thing. And I probably did.
So like overall, are you really like unhappy with the book, or are you actually like, yeah, we got some stuff, but
No, I'm super disappointed in the book. But I'm not like pure whinging. I mean, it's not like there isn't good things in there. There are, you know. Might Makes Right really changes things for Beastclaw. It allows us to play the game, like I said, you know.
Do you think it's the dark side of your prediction has come true, where you said like if you were more of a, and you had made this prediction quite a bit beforehand, where you said like if you're a Gutbusters player, chances are this is going to be a good book for you. If you want to play both together, chances are this is going to be a good book for you. If you were a pure Beastclaw player, well, sorry. Like, do you think that ended up coming to pass?
No, I think I had a little wrong there. I don't think that prediction went true.
Okay.
It came true in a way that I wasn't expecting. It's actually kind of hard to mix them up.
Mm-hmm.
That's like if you play pure Beastclaw, I think you can do some fun things, just not particularly not crazy competitive or anything like that.
Right.
And if you play pure Gutbusters, you can do some pretty good things, just not like super competitive. But if you want to mix them beyond just like one unit,
sure, beyond just having a murder horn in your Gutbusters or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're harder to mix than War Clans is, and those are like kind of 2 separate armies.
Right.
It's kind of the keyword soup that we see in Khorne in a way, where there's this division, and like some guys are buffing some things and some guys are buffing some other thing, and if you want to make something good, you kind of have to specialize in it. So it actually is kind of hard to mix them, even though they've made them one thing, which is a weird take. It's like it's even hard to fit a Frostlord into a pure Gutbusters army because he needs an artifact.
Right.
And be taking a tribe, and that takes your artifact. So now you're going to want a battalion. And if you want Iron Blasters to be good, you're going to take a battalion so that you can give Trophy Rack to the guy, and then now you need a 3rd artifact for a Frostlord. And so there's a lot of like goofy list building stuff when you really start looking into it.
Right.
You know, it'll be super fun. Like maybe I shouldn't have, or maybe I should have put more of that caveat in the video, although I did try to. Where like there's fun stuff to do in here. Like let's not lose sight.
Has that like piqued your interest more?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Marok. Yeah.
Has that like piqued your interest with it more because it's harder to find those like little spaces where you've got to find where you can pull this stuff out of it, or are you just kind of like it's just not here?
Like list building interest, you mean?
Yes.
Well, you're thinking real quick. Let me answer a few questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rob Johnson said, have you tried lowering your bitrate to stop dropping streams? I did. I actually, when I went to a lower bitrate, it actually dropped more. So I don't know what's up with that. So I went back to like a medium bitrate, and that seems like kind of okay. I'm actually above where it says I should be streaming, but I'm still way low versus like where you're ideally supposed to stream for this kind of a thing. So who knows? How do you feel about painting old miniatures? I don't like to paint old miniatures unless they're an old miniature I really love. How do you feel about green, blue, and brown as a color scheme? Green and blue together are always highly suspect because they're quite near each other on the color wheel, and like brown isn't actually a color. It does not actually balancing anything off. It's a neutral tone. It's not a color. It's just it's a thing that exists. Now you can make it into a color if you like turn it red or something like that, which is what I would probably recommend in that case. If you had it mostly like green and brown with a little bit of blue as a pop color, you could get away with it. Or blue and brown with a little bit of green as a pop color. Sure. All right, so there. Hopefully I gave you enough time to think about it.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that that limitation makes the list building that much more interesting. You just end up driving into a bunch of dead ends much faster. So I guess I'll put it that way, I suppose.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm sorry, dude. Like it sucks to have like your army of choice and be disappointed when there finally is a release. Like that does suck, and I'm truly sorry, man. That sucks.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of different ways you can look at it, however you choose to. For instance, a month ago my army was much worse, right?
Right.
And before Realm Artifacts came out, like Beast Call were like actually unplayable. Even in casual you couldn't win, and so Realm Artifacts came out. Now we're a little better, and we got this new book, and it wasn't what we wanted, but it's better than it used to be, right? And
yeah, you also get to take
you're given
what is you also get to take what is like seen as not a competitive army and like ram it down somebody's throat in your traditional like magic I'm gonna crush you style.
Yeah, like if you bring your rogue deck, there's a certain charm in being the underdog because your wins are more not meaningful, but like you take them to heart more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're satisfying.
They're more, your wins are more satisfying, and everybody likes rooting for the underdog and stuff like that. So it's not it's not a tragedy or any such. And probably I'm looking at it from the perspective of somebody who got my hopes up, right? And you don't want to do that with a new release, because in your head it's always going to be like, oh, I bet, what if they do this and what if they do that? And then when it comes out, you only ever see missed opportunities. Like maybe Nurgle 2, when that came out, somebody was looking at and they're like, oh man, I really thought such and such would happen. Maybe this is just how everybody feels in their bubble, in their own little bubble, when an army comes out that was theirs and got an update book. I haven't been in that position, so maybe it is.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously the Ogre book was fun enough to me that I decided to paint an Ogre army in 24 hours as a fun project, right? So other people in the group could play it. And I will say, like, watching it get piloted, it is one of those armies that's like, if somebody asked me, what are some good armies to start as for my first army? Like, it's probably one I would recommend, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a great new player-friendly army in ways that I don't think Stormcast and Khorne are, even though they're marketed for it.
Right. Well, Khorne especially now has become, like, so fiddly with so many little tiny interactions and holy withins and stuff like that. Right.
Khorne, yeah. When people were first picking up the game, it was always like almost a meme where the army of frenzied cannibal barbarians requires all of like the thought and planning into the synergies.
Yeah,
it was nuts, and still is. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Go on.
No, exactly. That's why, like, Khorne, I think is somewhat of a failure in some respect, just because I feel like the theme and the feeling of the army should have a play style that fits that. And Khorne looks like this bloodthirsty, just insane run forward, but actually it's like so meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of tedium there, and these circles and everybody in their right place at the right. It plays like a Tzeentch army should, tactically, on the table, except it's the furious, bloodthirsty one, which is kind of goofy to me.
It is very strange. I totally agree with that. When you look at the way that army plays, doesn't it feel like they should be like. It feels like we should look at the game and go, well, who are the melee? You kind of just charge across the table and smash people as one of the options you have as playstyles to be moderately successful. That doesn't mean like winning tournaments. That means moderately successful, right? Like the book is functional if you act like that. Books. You look at the world and you go, well, okay, it should be like the Iron Jaws, like orcs. They should probably act like that because that feels like their thing. The ogres. Yeah, okay, that checks out. And, Khorne, because blood for the blood god, and let's go mess some people up. Like, if all you knew about the world was kind of the 6,000-foot view, right? Then it's not that they're bad. So, Andrew, I'm not sure which part you're disagreeing with there. But, like, to me, the problem with Khorne is it should have the option to just, like, go nuts. And there is a lot of fiddlingness to the army. Like, there are some versions of it that are slightly less than others, but there's always some fiddling. There's a lot of, like, holy withins and things that require very synergistic, because all their troops are very underpowered until they get together and get all their buffs and get going, right? When it feels like what Khorne should be is a bunch of the best warriors. All just hanging out together, ready to go beat face. Right? Not needing each other.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that this isn't a power level discussion in any way. This is
Right.
how the mechanics are playing out and what you're doing to make your things work on the table. Like it's rip stream. Are we seeing that in chat? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like Vince talked about the thing, and it was just like it got lost in the ether.
It'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's back. Such is life.
Now it's interesting because it's like ogres were in a specific place where it's like nothing got cut, so you had an understanding of what everything that used to be available to ogres did from Warhammer Fantasy into the beginning of Age of Sigmar, and then from AOS 1 into AOS 2. So it's like you didn't you had something in the back of your head of like that 1,000-foot view of this is what ogres have been doing. I can't imagine they will dramatically change it, especially if they announce, okay, we're coming out with a new ogre book, and boom, nothing's getting cut, and unfortunately, nothing new is getting added either, except for the mop-up. Whereas something like High Elves, where they basically don't exist anymore. Like they slowly got rid of most of the army, and then the rest of it is now been moved into cities of Sigmar. So while we know they exist thematically within the fiction, they could go effectively anywhere. Like, are they really going to be angels? We don't know. We only have vague themes and ideas, and that Teclis and Tyrion exist. That could be anything.
Yeah. How close to complete do you think all that is? Do you have the Teclis model right now somewhere in the back?
Oh yeah, no, it's been done probably since like Halloween of 2018.
Yeah,
is I think basically how far in advance these guys work, and like I mentioned this to some friends in other chats where it's like deeper and deeper into because the design space, at least within their fiction, was already there. Like they took a Slayer and made it its own army. They took the technological acumen that dwarves are stereotypically associated with and made it into its own army that I think no one expected. Like Vince, when you saw Caradron for the first time, was that something that like really checked the box for you in terms of
Yeah, I think they're one of the most original takes of all the armies we've had. I mean, they're still dwarves. Again, most of the new armies we've had that are like new are still just like the existing races in a new skin, right?
Sure.
So elves but wet, dwarves but sky, right?
Right. And even Tyler Emerson and I were like talking, well, what does a high elf army look like? And it's like, well, we already have an established pattern of they're going to have a mutant unit where they're mixed with some sort of mythological creature that was associated with their army in the old world. And it's going to be elves plus mutant elves plus a god model plus this and so forth. So it's like there's already a little bit of a predictability in terms of like release composition. But I think that elves are the most Tolkien of all of the fantasy races that we in Western pop culture like can think of. And if Games Workshop wanted to try and not make it like Tolkien anymore, elves are the hardest things to work with. And the elf armies we've got, huh?
I honestly, I don't think you're gonna get a mutant at all. I think that these elves are going to be the epitome of perfection, and they are all going to be like
Well, we
these
say
pristine,
when
angelic visions of.
when we say mutant, it's because there's already a precedent for that in the new Warhammer fiction, in that all of the elf souls are effectively the same ones from the old world, whether they remember their past life or not. Because Slaanesh in a food coma Slaanesh is in a food coma, chained up in the hidden gloaming, which is that realm near where Shadespire is between Hysh and Ulgu, and Tyrion, Teclis, Malekith, now Malarion, and Marathi just keep punching its stomach, and it spits up elf souls, and they're tainted. And those tainted elf souls, when they are made back into mortal flesh, are permanently transformed. And that's how we get the Kinerai, the Melusai, and now the Kurnothi, which are the half deer, half goat, and half like the centaur elves, basically. And I think high elves are going to continue that trend, but they're instead of angels, or like they might look like angels, but they're going to be like half eagle, maybe. I don't see them doing cat people, because one, that's like already done in like a mainline like epic fantasy thing, like in Elder Scrolls. There's already cat people who are buddies with high elves, and I think it's just unnecessary. But that's why when we say there's going to be a mutant faction, it's because we're basing it off of there being a precedent for Daughters of Cain and now Kurnothi to exist.
Look at that.
So
the coach is in the house, by the way.
elves or Leon.
Oh, Rakshasa. There you go.
Huh?
Oh, I said like no like Rakshasa elves or Leonin or something like that.
Yeah,
No.
bring in the backwards thumbs.
Mm-hmm.
Backward thought what? Oh,
Rakshasa
Mario's
have backwards hands. They have like Rakshasa have inverted hands, right? So they're like, their hands are backwards, they're like, opposite hands. That would be so amazing if they sculpted a race like Rakshasa with backwards hands, because it would be the most confusing thing to every painter ever for assembling.
And every person who didn't know about the lore of it would be like, you put your hands on wrong, right? You're like, no, it's all they're supposed to be, here, buddy.
Mm-hmm. What's up, Coach?
That would be like every converter's dream.
Oh, look who it is!
Yes, he's on mute, but he's
Mario
here. It's Mario. He's joined the chat.
Yeah, Mario. G'day. Just woke up and I thought I'd jump on and not paint, but say happy birthday and hang out with you fine hobby legends.
Hey.
It's great to have you, buddy. And also, I appreciate your sign in the background.
We just recorded a show the other day, so
I watched it. Yes, it was good.
That's why it's there. And I thought I'd put on a bit of costume, a little bit of a sneak peek for an upcoming episode. So a bit of Mario, but I'm going to go on mute while I eat my delicious fig and walnut toast.
That sounds absolutely gross. Absolutely. Have a good time. That sounds disgusting. A combination of two bad things into a perfectly fine thing. Wonderful. All right. So, when it comes to like creating something truly iconic, I feel like just doing animal/person isn't going to cut the mustard.
No.
It's fine. Don't get me wrong. Like the Kurnothi stuff where you like centaurs, but can you find something that enough people think is cool? Like, I think it'd be cool to have like, so Hysh is the realm of the mind and thought and logic and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and Crystal. Don't forget Crystal.
Well, that goes exactly to where I was. Thank you, Martin. It's as though you were about to set me up for what I was going to say. Because what I was going to say was, I think it'd be cool to have like crystalline type of humanoids that aren't people. Like maybe they just make themselves like pseudo suits of kind of armor that let them inhabit it, and they act humanoid-ish. But otherwise, they're more or less just crystalline energy beings fashioned into like suits of armor they've beaten into to let them go to war because they've been roused by whatever's there. And they're all psychically linked because they are effectively just energy mind creatures that have formed themselves into like a physical thing. And so they have just like a giant crystal that's at the center of it, like a big pylon. and that's actually like your terrain piece is actually like the leader of your army, right? Because that's like the brain crystal that's sort of sending out all of it's connecting all of them.
And his name is the leader.
So it's like the mind flayer with the big brain.
Yeah, with the overmind. Yeah.
Oh, the overmind thing? Kind of, but that's more a control, like command and control thing. I'm not saying that. I'm thinking of it more like a network hub. You understand what I mean? Like it's routing all of them together. Like they're individuals. They're all these little energy beings are still beings. They are themselves, but they connect through this thing. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think it'd be cool to see like that idea put together with like your crystalline armor idea and just have like these little like imps or something that live in the realm of light that like make these big suits of armor.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they could absolutely. Yeah, they could be. Yes, there could be little homunculi or quasits or imps or something who help them out, who are like their little hands for them, you know, that actually like do the sort of minuscule dirty work for them. Like that kind of stuff
like
would
skinks.
be amazing. Yeah. So like just
I want an army that is all endless spells that gain sentience.
Nice.
And
Oh
the
my
whole
God.
thing are endless spells that they have names and stuff. And because there was that one, wasn't there a purple sun that was so ancient that it like gained sentience and gave itself a name and stuff like that, and couldn't be unbound normally, I think, in the lore.
Yes, it's a great scenario. It's in there's actually a scenario where you can take control of him and like he's just kind of a thing.
The Chain Colossus scenario?
Yeah, the Chain Colossus scenario. Yep, exactly. What's his name?
Don't know his name.
Shoot. Nope, I don't remember either.
It's a Games Workshop name.
It is, yeah. But the point is like that dude is awesome. That's a great scenario, by the way. It's super fun. Like if you're looking to not just practice on the competitive scenarios and you want something that's really interesting and fun, that's actually a very fun scenario to play. We've done that a couple times because it's always a good time. But yes, that'd be amazing. Like an all sentient spell army. Holy crap, dude. That'd be amazing.
I think his name's Maloxor, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that sounds right.
Cool. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, his name was Larry. Steve Keen said Larry the Purple Sun.
That's the googly eye one, right? We see that picture all the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, like I gotta back this up. Hey, well, I love the idea. Like small, it could be an elite army, right? So you're not painting. It's not like units of 20 or 60, or 60 is the right answer. Maybe there's a unit of 20, but there's not like a unit of 60 small spells, right? But like there could be little spells and there could be bigger spells. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could even do stuff like, oh, here's the here's the flaming skull, except it's in a trench coat with a wizard hat, and it's like one of your casters or something. There's some fun things you could do, I think, with it.
And one of the main ways you can do significant damage to it is to attempt to unbind a unit.
Right.
Yeah, like if any of your guys are successfully dispelled, like you dispel an endless spell, like it does a d6 damage to them or something.
Oh yeah, so there's all sorts of fun. Hold on,
So it's like a Doom Train thing where undead in Final Fantasy, like if you heal them, it hurts, and so if you like unbind or dispel them, and like you can do extra damage to them, and that's a different like way of handling that.
Let's follow this rabbit hole. This is fascinating. Let's try to actually see what we can do here. Okay.
Yeah. So
right. So we got spell units and spell characters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that occurs to me is that they're going to be difficult to kill, right? Makes sense? Because they're just magic. Like if you go up and stab it with a sword, it's not as effective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
So how about how about a universal mechanic for the army, like I'm trying to decide between a couple things. Like at the end of the turn, or maybe the battle round or something, they automatically return to their full strength of the unit unless they're wiped out.
Oh, like Magic, yeah, like Magic the Gathering creatures and the cleanup step. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That
Yep.
That
However,
makes total sense.
I love
like
your
it.
idea of like dispelling and unbinding being powerful against them. Like any wizard
Yes.
can just use a dispel or unbind attempt on the unit to do like D6 mortal wounds to basically blood boil them,
Yeah.
right?
And
So everybody has counterplay.
heal or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm noticing your comments, Quiet Side. I'm absolutely seeing them. We're just talking and it's a lot of comments, but I see them, buddy. Don't worry.
How many people are watching the stream?
That's about 140 people right now. So
Wow.
That's a big ass party you've got there.
it is. This is great. This is what I wanted.
Ever play Age of Empires?
Yes, absolutely.
You can have a thing where if somebody else summons an endless spell, you can wolo it, and it joins your endless spell.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
that'd be sweet.
Yes, you actually bring it over to your side.
Yeah.
This army's rocking and rolling. So like, should the purple sun just be like one of the big bads in it? Should he just be like that's one of your big characters, right? Is the purple sun?
Yes.
Should make the named character an actual special character.
Yeah, sure.
Like, in the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the army will still have sculpts. It's not like you just buy Forbidden Power and you have the army. Like, they're all like sculpts that are really reminiscent of those, except they're more impressive.
This would also be a perfect. This would be a perfect time for Games Workshop if they wanted to sculpt an endless spell army to bring in some of the spells like from 8th edition. I know they're slowly bringing them in to like newer armies. Like you'll remember spell like something like Sylvaneth have Dwellers Below or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be a good opportunity to like manifest some of those older iconic spells as units, like Gehenna's Golden Hounds. Let's have a unit of Gehenna's Golden Hounds.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, or you could even take that a step further, and each lore where you had like lore of fire, lore of life, lore of whatever, you could actually make those like the enclaves of the army. Whereas if you took it under this is the certain artifact, command trait, whatever that you got.
I like it. I like it. I think we're getting somewhere with this. Yes, I think that, by the way, somebody asked, like, what would their command abilities look like? It would be a lot of movement-based stuff, because most of them would retain something like their normal abilities, where, like, when they move over people, they do damage. And then, like, in actual combat, they would be unbelievably weak, because they don't actually fight, right? It would just be, like, a lot of them trying to push into you, and stuff like that, like moving over you, Hex Wraith type of interactions, right? And so the command abilities would be all about, like, pulling people out of combat, being able to retreat and charge, being able to push people extra inches, increasing move speed, that kind of stuff.
What are the chain ones called? Chains of
Soul Snare Shackles.
Soul Snare Shackles.
Snare Schnackles.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Soul
Snare
Schnackles, yes.
Maybe their way of doing actual damage is like taking over people.
I was literally going to ask about possession. I would love to be able to possess someone's models and get them to do something for me.
Oh yeah, I like that idea. Do they have to be a wizard though?
Guys, that might be a little too NPE, but I was thinking like you have 10 Skaven that are all bound up in Soul Snare Shackles and are being forced to attack on your behalf, and that's like one of the little models. I suppose that wouldn't work because they have to be different on different bases and stuff. Never mind.
No, I think Vince, if I may just push back a little bit, some of them like bringing back the Gehenna's Golden Hound concept
Could be
depending on the some of them could be able to fight because they are manifestations of like a specific thing rather than a little more abstract like the Gnashing Jaws or the Purple Sun.
Totally fair. You're right, Martin. And especially because we're not just talking about using the existing spells. There'd be new ones here, and I agree with you. There's a deep well to go from. Real quick here. Brandon S. Question. I'm thinking of doing an Iron Jaws army that is based off White Walkers with grayish, deadish flesh, and ice weapons. What would you recommend for painting that? Well, I mean, those things, you just kind of answered it. Like, do the grayish, deadish flesh. Probably like a dark armor. So something like blackened iron would look best against a bright flesh like that. And then, yeah, just traditional ice weapons. So there's lots of different ways to do ice weapons. I have a tutorial on it. There's a couple other ones out there. I think, I know there's been other people who've done it as well. I can't quote exactly who, but
There's a
something
little
like that.
there's a little bit of brown in the white. If you watch like the Game of Thrones episodes, like on a really good screen, if you take a good look at their armor, it has like this weird basket weave to it. Maybe it's just supposed to be like weathered iron, but to me it looks a little bit almost like this brownish. I don't want to say basket weave because it's not like straw or like some sort of like weave. Like it has a weave pattern, but I think there's a little bit of brown in there, and I think that could actually like go a long way
I
in
agree.
terms of yeah.
Yeah, because then you have a little bit of warmth to counter out the cold. So there.
Yeah.
For the weapons, I would recommend going out and picking up a bottle of Dollarowny turquoise ink.
Yeah, it's
as
good
it's
ice color.
like super awesome, super amazing for doing ice weapons and a ton of other stuff.
You're right. It is just a useful ink to have. I love that color. Yes. Good recommendations all around. There you go. All right. So So the endless spell army.
Yes.
Frankly, I think we've got a winner here. Like obviously, you have a few new characters. You have a few existing things. Here's a question: can they summon more of themselves?
Absolutely.
Yes, damn straight they can.
Okay. But when they're summoning them, they're not summoning like an endless spell. They're summoning themselves, sentient endless spells. Or is this like a Pluto and Goofy thing?
No, I don't think. I think they think that summoning endless spells is like cruel, and so they don't do it.
They're
just
fighting
summon
for liberation.
Yeah, they're fighting against that.
Right.
I think that they should get bonuses to stuff if your opponent casts any endless spells because it like pisses them off.
Sure. Yeah, because you've enslaved their potential brothers and sisters. Yeah, absolutely. That tracks. Let's see. Colossal gelatinous cube, the army. Yeah, there you go. I do love the idea of a gelatinous cube endless spell. That'd be pretty great. Just moves around and like squishes a unit into it, starts slaying models.
Ignores attacks that doesn't have rend.
Right.
Oh yeah. Not only does it pick up and move a unit off of an objective, but they take D6 mortal wounds as you're moving them.
Right. Because it just squishes them around. Yep.
Imagine the conversion opportunities where you just pour a giant cube
Block of resin.
of resin and just fill it with whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like some like deteriorating, like being eaten by acid dudes.
Just a really pissed off Catacross or something like that.
Oh, you got locked in the cube.
Very too much into the summoning humanoid-like things, but a lot of times when I've encountered magical enemies in, say, video games, they are like spiritual manifestations of like a volley of archers.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Instead of it like I don't want it to just be like I'm gonna shoot fire at you with my like incorporeal fire monsters. You know what I mean?
No,
I'm not
I
sure
think
how
you go exactly what you said. There's a bunch of good old spells that haven't been brought over yet, and some of these make absolute sense to be created as endless spells. So yeah, I mean, there you go. It's easy.
Do you think?
No, I'm specifically about ranged attacks. Like I don't know what ranged attacks in this army look like.
Oh sure.
It is a range.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
I like it. I think this is a winner right here. The endless spell army is good to go.
Uh-huh.
This is we're just knocking out these ideas. See, totally new, totally weird, and yet builds on the already existing stuff. That's a winner. Winner, chicken dinner right there. All right, GW, I expect to see that in no more than 2 years from now. So
Right.
I was watching your Slaanesh review earlier this week, and you say winner, chicken dinner quite a lot.
I do, as a matter of fact. It's one of my favorite things.
There's a lot to say about that book that involves the phrase winner, chicken dinner. So
right.
Yeah.
It comes up a lot when you play other people as well. Yes, it's one of those things.
I did have a test game of ogres against Slaanesh, and it was kind of as you expected. Slaanesh player is just beaming,
Sure.
ear to ear.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the depravity.
You just look at this depravity.
Yes, for Slaanesh, this is showing up at the buffet, and you see it stocked with all the finest. Like, this is rolling into the Bellagio buffet when they just put out the fresh lobster or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
this is... Yes.
It's like,
Be
you
taking
mean
the
I get
list
3?
because then I end up getting like the second to second. Like, I mean, if you go 3-0, you're paired up against other people who went 3-0. But
Mhm.
like right below that are the other people who went 2-1. And most of the time, I just can't win the next 2 games. So like I played a Daughter's Army, and then as a punishment for losing to a Daughter's player, game 5 I played a Slaanesh Army, and he had, and this is just off the top, like it could be like slightly tweaked on like the certain units, but I know he had a Keeper, and then Shalaxi, and then he had the Mask, a Contorted Epitome, and I don't know if there was another hero after that, but there was one blob of 30 Daemonettes, 3 units of 5. What are the Seekers? Not Hellstriders. Hellstriders are the ones with Marauders on back, right?
Yeah.
All right, so it was 3 units of 5 Seekers, the unit of 30 Daemonettes, and then all of the Slaanesh Endless spells. And I think it was just shy of 2K.
So wait, he
And
had 30 Daemonettes on the table?
yes.
Oh, fluffy list.
Did he
then.
kill
Yeah, so you're
anything
playing
with the
something
mirror?
soft, yeah.
What? Well, I was like, it was kind of going back and forth, and then right when he was about to lose, he had like 6 command points in reserve and a ton of depravity. It's like, I'm going to summon these Daemonettes back that you killed earlier, and then I'm going to make everything pile in and attack twice. And that was, I lost by 1 point. That was a better part of Valor.
Yeah, I think
Sounds-
something that gets lost in the buzz about Slaanesh is that it's so fun to play.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's actually incredibly fun to play. I tested a little bit when the book came out, just with empty bases and stuff against Iron Jaws, and it was like guiltily fun to play, where
Mhm.
you know your opponent is having inversely proportional amount of fun,
Right.
but you're like, this is such a tragedy because it's so fun, and you wish your opponent could somehow manage to have fun too.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I did like how the endless spells are like sort of like a give and take. He used the mirror, and the mirror is the one that does mortal wounds equal to or like multiplied by the amount of 6s you roll, or is that the wheels?
No, that's the mirror.
Yeah, and we kept playing with the mirror back and forth. It's like, do I want to waste an unbind trying to get rid of the mirror? Because I had to use Archon's old scroll for that event, which I was grateful for because I still got to cast Van Hels through him. But he also didn't get any bonuses to dispelling endless spells, which are on his updated scroll.
Right.
So it's like, do I try and roll straight dice at the mirror, or do I cast my excellent debuffs that I absolutely need? And I kept losing the priority roll, so I pointed the mirror at him instead, and it was fun. I mean, he doesn't lose anything because the mirror can't damage Slaanesh units, I think. But as a result, I never got it pointed at me again. But that was like a fun trade-off. I wish more endless spells were like that, where they can be high risk, high reward for both players.
Yeah,
I haven't taken like the actual like Slaanesh. Like, I haven't run like a bunch of Demonettes and the Keeper of Secrets and that, but I have run like the Depraved Drove underneath the Slaanesh Allegiance. And oh my god, do Beasts of Chaos go to like 11 underneath Slaanesh? Holy crap.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
running just your little torpedoes of 10 Vestigor around the board with exploding 6s, and like, it, god forbid you take a unit of 20 or more and then your exploding 6s turn into 3 hits instead of just an additional. Like, it's just insanity.
Yeah, I've said that I don't know what show I was on, but with Beast of Chaos, Depraved Drove is the best battalion in the game because it lets you pay points to get Slaanesh battle traits. That's for what you're paying for what abilities you get. It's like the most powerful battalion ever.
Right.
So great. And yeah, okay, you
Yeah.
have to give up the Beast of Chaos ones, but it's like no great loss, to be honest. So yeah, it's super fun. I thought that was one of my predictions. I'm like, okay, Beast of Chaos is dead. Everyone will just play Depraved Drove now. And they really didn't.
I I stopped playing it because my opponents weren't having any fun. It was like I was rolling a shit ton of dice and their stuff was dying, and it wasn't any fun for them. They were just standing there watching me roll dice all game, so it was kind of like, all right, I'll just take my stuff off. So I was like, okay, going back to Beast of Chaos Allegiance.
So you were doing what we call the doing the plague monk, where you just sit there and roll dice, and then other people take things off. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like I totally understand it, and like Beast of Chaos is so fast, like, and then you add like the command, like you give a Beast Lord some of the command traits out of there, and he just gets stupid, like.
How many players
Or
in
if
your
you decide
area?
to take one
I was just going to say,
in my area.
Well, just in maybe a question in general is, are we even seeing many Beasts of Chaos armies around? I know certainly I don't see many of them. If
I
any,
keep
let
asking.
alone.
I keep asking, but I'm the
I-
only one in my area.
I
But
have
there's
one in
there's
my
only
area.
like there's only like 10 of us.
I would say that it's a pretty low representation army.
Right.
Yeah.
Statistically and anecdotally, probably both line up there for the most part.
But the people who love them.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Beast Claw thing. You won't find many people playing it, but the people who do are just like, I really love this. Like, it's so sweet, you know.
Right.
I know.
Like
I will enjoy being the only. Sorry.
You will enjoy being the only
Then I'll
Legions
just start.
player. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Now I will enjoy being the only elf, like high elf player, because that was how it used to be. Like I would say in especially like the southern New Jersey, Philadelphia scene, it was definitely you were either playing like even from Warhammer Fantasy into now, it's like you're either playing a Chaos army, you're playing like a Vampire Count style army of undead, or you're playing any form of orcs. And that's still mostly true. And I was always like, and then there's Marty with high elves, elves, me, and it's gonna be like that again. And I hope that they're not just like an eel army where I have to take one unit and then that's like there's nothing else other than that unit is good in the book.
Ooh,
Let me answer a question real quick here. Inspirational mini. I said I bought the Vallejo Nocturnal purple set. Most amazing thing I ever saw. Anyone tried the red ones? Are they any good? Yes, I have both.
I have them on my desk. Yeah.
I know you have them too, Marty. Yes, I have the purple and the red ones. I know you have the purple ones. Do you have the red set too, as well, Marty?
All three of them are in front of me right now. I just got the fairy flesh set yesterday, and I used it to paint the skin on the elf.
There you go.
Their Nocturna is like their story is kind of convoluted, like how they got picked up by Vallejo. But the point is that their paints are available to the public now, and that is one of the best things to happen in fantasy figure painting, as far as I'm concerned. Like buy these paints.
What kind of properties do they have? Are they like scale 75 where they're like ultra matte? Are they like a gel type medium? Like what kind of paints are we?
They're pretty standard, like Vallejo, like acrylic paints. It's more the color like mixture. Like sometimes it would be pretty hard, at least in my opinion, to get to colors of these specific hues. And they include instruction manuals within each of them, like the Scale 75 and Vallejo ones, which put them like ask you to blend or like glaze them in a certain order, which create an even more interesting color effect, which I just rarely see on other miniatures. Like it gives you like this dark, almost like brick red, a pink, and then sort of like a neutral red, and you glaze them in a certain order, and it creates a red that I've like never seen before. And it's like that with their flesh set, both of the flesh sets, like the vampire skin. Like I don't paint vampires any other way anymore. Like their purple tones are just excellent. Like just buy them. Like find them online. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The purple tones are especially nice because there's not a lot. Most miniature lines really don't have a great range of purple paints, and these are actually really nice. They're really vibrant. I would like the thing that makes them good is just they have a nice intense sort of pigmentation and a bright color to them. So they give you really nice, intense and varied purples, reds, things like that, in a lot of different tones. Then you'd have to color mix very carefully to get to the same place. So if you're not like a whiz at paint mixing on your own with how you can get different effects, this is a good way to do it. Which, by the way, there are very few people who like really are, right? Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
So are they like, yeah.
They're
So
actually
are they
fairly
like
satin.
super pigment rich then, or like?
Yeah. Yep. That's right. They're pretty pigment rich. Yep. That's right.
I'm just trying to get a gauge, like, because I paint almost exclusively in scale 75 because I really, it's just when you find a paint that you're super comfortable with using and just kind of stick with that, that's what scale 75 is to me, which is why I was asking, like, what
in that case you'll find a little bit of more of the same. Like it's like the way the paints are made, like in terms of like, I don't like chemically, like the mixture of like pigment to medium and whatnot. Like I wouldn't say there's that much special about them. It's more the colors that they offer and the ways that you can blend them together, like really create interesting, not often seen hues.
Yep.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, right on. Coach, I want to bring you in here, man. We haven't got to talk to you much. What are you working on, buddy, besides breakfast?
I've been eating breakfast.
Yeah, you still eating?
No, I was. I didn't want to chew on toast nonstop.
No, so now you're hobbying. So what are you working on, buddy?
I am putting myself to use and priming a Free Guild General on foot. So this will be from the Forge World range, the discontinued General. Yeah, that's what I'm currently working on.
This is a legit Forge or a Free Guild General model, not a conversion. You said this is one of the old Forge World specials?
No, this is the legit one. Yeah, you used to get the Empire Command set, which included this general, this amazing battle standard bearer, and what could have been a flagellant hero.
Yep.
So he's been sitting on the bits box for a while, and I'm bringing him out now that I'm forced to play one on foot. So all roads lead to CanCon right now. So trying to lock down a list, and my God, Cities of Sigmar, it is the worst book in the world because building a list is just impossible. It literally changes every second, and then my Twitter fills up and people want to recommend, like, oh, I just realized Hawkeye with long strikes are amazing. I'm like, oh, maybe I should get them. And then someone else tells me about Pistolier army. I'm like, what? Guys, stop. I'm trying to lock down an army.
Yeah.
But
more books need to be like Cities of Sigmar.
Look, I'm whinging, but it's an amazing, amazing book. But locking down a tournament list is incredibly impossible.
Yeah, I almost jumped in because I love the rules for the Shadow Warriors. The thing that made me not jump in head first was that they got rid of the Way Watcher.
That's it. That was the thing. That broke you right there. No Way Watcher, I'm out.
Absolutely. Not even kidding.
Find a way. I'm sure you can find a way.
That was my favorite order hero. Like, I used to play
for all you know,
back.
For all you know,
back
when
in
Wood Elf come back, Way Watcher could come back.
Well, that's cool, but then he'll be in that army, not in the Free People's army. So my decision will still stand as correct.
Look, I've played with a particular general. I had my Empire general. That was I think it was called Rutger or Rutger from a old Warhammer campaign. I think it was Idol of Gork, and I've run him as my Empire general and my Free Guild general since 4th edition, and no longer do I have generals on horse. So if I can come over and lose my favorite general, I'm sure you can find a way.
Yeah, just put him on a big boat. That's
I don't know, man. There's something about that.
General on Griffin. Boom.
There's
upgraded.
There was just something about having like a hero general, whatever, that actually specialized with a bow that was good, that really resonated with me, and like he was the only one.
Yeah, he was quite good.
Oh,
you play
Vince, I have
Wanderers, right?
Yeah.
Vince, I have an interesting question for you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This isn't the time for interesting questions, Martin. No, go ahead. What's your question?
All right then. Never mind.
Put away your answering questions. Nonsense only on this stream, my friend.
Right. Well,
No,
I mean,
no
this,
question for you. Come back in 1 year.
So now that Cities of Sigmar is out, because
Yeah,
Wolf posed an interesting thing, or it's like certain things are disappearing. For the longest time now, we've had these two elf characters from Silver Tower, the Mistweaver and Tenebral Shard, and they haven't done anything with them. Like, and they're still available. Like, what do you think are eventually going to happen to them? Like, do you think they fit with an army? Like, people thought that the Mistweaver was going to be in Deepkin, but they forgot that Deepkin don't have hair and Mistweaver does. I'm just like, what purpose do these characters serve?
Okay.
Like,
Malarian
are they gonna
Scorch.
I mean, one, sure, maybe. But also, let me make the reference. I'll explain it like this. And I'm sure this is probably going to land with you, Joe. Joe, do you remember Future Sight?
Yes, I do.
So there was a cycle that was done. Like, there was a set. This is one of the things that, like, I had already been dipping my toe back into Magic and had been playing for a little while. And then this was like, this was the first big pre-release event I went to when that set came out. Like, I had started playing in '94. I played up until like '99, then got out for a few years, and I came back for Future Sight, or not that one, but whatever that. What was the name of the core set for that one? Time Spiral. Thank you. So they did like basically a present, past, and future sort of thing, right? And because time was getting all wibbly wobbly, because that's when they introduced Planeswalkers. And so when they did Future Sight, the whole idea of Future Sight was they were going to future shift in a bunch of cards from quote unquote future sets. So it had like a bunch of it was a set of like one-off mechanics, crazy mechanics of things that there was no other thing to feed it. Right? Like, there was the contraption mechanic that was in there forever that never had anything else. No other contraptions. And just, on and on, right? And some of those were brought in from sets that were literally in the pipeline, right? They just picked a couple cards out of sets that were in various stages of development in the pipeline over the next 2 to 3 years, finished those couple cards, and then brought them in.
Right.
Some of them were more just like, well, we think someday we'll do a thing like this. Right? Or just like, this would be a crazy thing that maybe we would do sometime.
So that's basically these are things that were on the drawing board, as in, like, what do we do? Well, these characters would be perfect for a one-off adventure box.
Yeah. And maybe there'll be a whole army, maybe they won't, right? We don't know yet. Yeah?
Yeah.
It's just like, this was some things that were kind of being tossed around. What do you got, Coach?
I was going to say, to be honest with you, in the lead up to the Gits book, I thought they would bring those scuttlers in from Warhammer Quest into
Sandbox.
Correct. I thought they would be the Gits, the Spiderfang equivalent of Battleline Gits. And I remember, I think Tom even went out and bought a whole bunch of them as well.
Yeah, it still hasn't connected. I don't know why. Oh, there we go. And now we're back.
Yeah. Oh, good. So whatever I said about My Little Pony dropped off the face of the internet.
I believe that is accurate, yes.
I really wish they would have heard what Joe said, and I also wish that he would have had a hat handy to switch out, because that would have been perfect.
No, I don't actually own a My Little Pony hat. I look a little too much like the real demographic, and I want to just steer clear of that. So
that's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of My Little Pony, have we seen the latest series of the toys? Is it the toys are made of, or it's a little Netflix series that kind of focuses into the different toys lines, like Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, the wrestling toys,
like the toys that made us or whatever. Is that?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I think Little Pony is in this current series, but I was watching the Power Rangers and Ninja Turtle ones. That's just incredible. If you guys haven't seen it,
I have not. It sounds super
I'll
fun.
have to check it out.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's on my list. I grew up with those toys, so.
Well, I think we all did. That's because that was the whole. We were the first generation that actually could be directly marketed to in that way, right? Because before it was illegal. So.
Yeah.
think the one that surprised. Oh, look, I won't ruin Christmas, but the Power Ranger one was the one that surprised me the most. Being a naive 5 or 6 year old watching Power Rangers and not understanding I guess the stock footage from Japan and then the splicing in of American content. It's like, oh, I didn't realize it happened.
Now, Anthony, this is a question specifically for you in that vein.
Yeah.
And this is just because of the stuff that like I see on YouTube and whatnot. Did you ever grow up with Samurai Shintaro, or was that just like your parents' thing? You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
I watched Samurai Pizza Cats.
Okay.
Hell yeah, you did.
Samurai Pizza Cats. Oh my god.
Like,
See,
that whole range of
was
like,
my favorite show growing up.
So you have no idea what I'm
Samurai
talking
Pizza
about?
Cats?
Samurai Pizza Cats.
no clue. I could pretend and like Google it right now and stall you, but no idea.
If you Google it, you're gonna be like, Marty, what the fuck do you watch? I'm sorry.
All right. I mean, I used to watch a whole lot of Monkey or Monkey Magic, depending on which region you're in, but not Shinobi, Chernobyl. Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't at me.
It's not, Shintaro was a black and white samurai, like actually like a historical, like sort of fantasy show, and it took over like pop culture in Australia in like the 60s and 70s. And I didn't know how much of it.
Coach is?
What?
I mean, how old do you think Coach is?
It could still be on television.
He's got
I
that
don't know.
luxurious mustache. I understand, but come on now.
I shaved a beard. I look a lot younger now, I'm told.
This is true. You do look younger. Well, hold on. We have a question from the audience that Martin, that we're all going to give an answer to, but Martin, I'm going to let you go first. We're going to all help a new player out. Here we go. We all ready?
Yeah.
All right. So Alan Foster said, so help needed. He's an old Warhammer Fantasy battle player, and he never made the switch to AOS, but he's looking to now. Which Death Army is a decent one for a new player? All right. So let's help him out, folks.
As someone who just finished their first ever Death Army after playing only like Order Goody Two Shoes good guys, Legions of Nagash is a good place to start because you have access to the widest amount of troops, and the Allegiance abilities support a robust amount of playstyles.
I would also say if you are a Warhammer Fantasy battle player with an actual existing Death Army, like if you have figs from like a previous Vampire Counts or something like that army, then most of those would translate, right? Like most of those would fit directly in. You have most of the army you need. Like you've got skeletons, and you've probably got direwolves, and you've got a corpse guard, and yada yada yada, right?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Do we have other votes?
Ooh, me next.
All right, Marak, your turn.
Go ahead. Night Haunt.
Okay.
If you're gonna start new, I would start with Night Haunt. Why? Because there's rules in there that you just get to ignore. Like, who gives a shit about Rend? You don't, because you're a ghost.
It's true.
So there's one rule you don't even have to worry about learning. I've been through the process with my wife. I taught her how to play Age of Sigmar with Night Haunt, and it was fairly easy. Like, you just kind of push stuff forward. And there's a lot of nuances in that army, too, that over time, as you gain more and more knowledge and figure out the little nuances of the game, there's actual stuff in there that can, like, really kick other people's teeth in. Like my wife's, like, bravery bomb, I'm gonna tomb banshee you off the table list.
Okay. Joe, opinion?
Yeah, it feels like Martin's answer is like the best / safest choice. Like you're using models you're already familiar with. It's pretty good. You have a lot of choices, how to build your army and which way to go and what thing to do. So I would almost say Legions of Nagash is pretty good. I don't know what type of player you are exactly. And like whatever your play style or personality or approach to games is, if we got a little of that, I think it would help make a suggestion a little more like, are you...
He said, by the way, he's starting fresh. He does want to start fresh. He clarified.
Oh, we want? Okay. All right.
Yep.
But also, like, are you the type of player who really likes combos and synergies and trying to figure stuff out, or do you like fairly straightforward approaches, or do you really get into the theme of stuff? Do you like magic? Like, how much do you like magic? There's going to be a few different ways I could push you depending on what your like personal tastes are for the most part.
Sure.
But suffice it to say that after the first 5 games or so, depending on how many games you play in your life and so how used to the picking up things you are, the difficulty of the army to play is really neither here nor there. Like, once you've picked up the game and you've played a few times, like, any one faction is just about as hard to play as any other faction. And so whether an army is easy to play or hard to play, I don't think that's too big of a deal, like, when recommending it to new players. So mainly I would ask, what kind of personality do you have, and what do people play around you?
That's a good
I'd
question.
watch some games, talk to people in real life at your local store. If one happens to play Nighthaunt or one happens to play OBR because they picked it up just now, or they happen to have Legions of Nagash or whatever, like watching stuff in person and talking to people and just figuring out like what happens in your local scene. Like, local scene is super important. It could be that the Age of Sigmar everybody plays on Friday in the only store in town. There's like 7 Flesh Eater Courts players. And so maybe not Flesh Eater Courts, you know what I mean? So there are things like that to consider as well, I would say.
That's good. It's a good tip, Coach. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Joe's taken the logical questions that I would normally ask. Being a new player, I'd probably make a recommendation based on what I know so far that Nighthaunt might be a good solution. A couple of reasons would be, again, I don't know your skill level in regards to painting, and have you been painting between fantasy and you're coming back from a different game, but certainly Nighthaunt are probably cheaper to pick up than maybe some of the other armies. There is the ability to bring some of your older units into the game later on through the Legion of Grief, which is I guess a sub-allegiance that you can tap into later. But certainly the Nighthaunt range is a newer range, and there's a lot of new models that you wouldn't have had the opportunity to buy or paint since playing the old vampire counts back in the day. So I think they could be a really good option for yourself. But again, not knowing that much of knowledge about your game and what you own and your play style and your meta and things like that. But very, very easy to get into, very, very cheap, and very forgiving in regards to both playing and painting. So
Nice.
I'd recommend that one.
All right.
Yeah, I see that he says that he's not playing competitive, and
Right.
in which case there really isn't a terrifically wrong choice here in the Death Fact. All 4 are quite fine.
They're all wonderful.
And all 4 have fun mechanics that you can really get behind and get into the mindset of playing. And all 4 have, there are certainly like better model ranges and worse model ranges, but it is all opinion after all. So really, I feel like your question is maybe, am I going to step into any bear traps when I'm choosing between one of these 4 death factions? And I don't think you really are.
I think the only trap is the new range, which is our Bone Daddies or our Ossiarch Bone Reapers, where you may buy them and you might get really excited about them, but you might feel a little bit samey where a lot of other players maybe in your area are playing with the Bone Reapers, and you may feel that you're just another person on the table where maybe you want something unique and something that you claim as your own. So I would say that's probably the only trap right now.
Yeah, and really,
But it's
I
not
think,
a bad
like,
trap.
It's not, but I agree. I think like Nighthaunt has, because you mentioned he likes theme and the kind of thing, that sort of thing. I think Nighthaunt has a wicked, awesome story. Like, Oleander's cool. The other people in charge are cool. They have tons of character. Like, FEC's backstory is amazing. As the fallen noble knights of the age who think they're all doing the best, and then like they think they're doing good, right, as it were. And then obviously the new Bone Reapers are sweet as all get out, as Nagash's super soldiers that he's birthed out into the world as a conglomeration of souls shoved into a single body, and then deprived of most of their will and left with only the urge to kill. It's pretty great. That's a Warren Ellis move right there. Like, I think there was a planetary, I think, where that had happened to like a cyborg, and that part of his brain had been removed. It was a freaking great planetary. One of the best series of all time. Go ahead.
Damien Mitch brings up a good point here. So he's like, do the Bone Daddies have a barrier to entry from a rules perspective?
Yes.
Well, not if you're a new player,
I
because
guess.
you don't have to unlearn any command point stuff.
I still
So-
think they do. Like, I get what you're saying. You don't have to unlearn anything to start over.
And you don't
whereas
have to worry
would
about
normally.
Battle Shock ever. So it's just a rule you
It's
don't have
true.
to learn.
I
But
think
it
that
is, to be fair, it is a fairly complex
yeah.
mechanic for an AOS army.
Right.
So, there's the second caveat there.
But I think if you're the type of person who likes a little bit of complexity or that kind of synergy, and that's how I'd break it down, right? Like, Ghosts, if you love that sort of spooky aesthetic and some really cool characters. FEC, if you like big Griblies and fun monsters that can go smash people. And Bone Daddies, if you like sort of actually having that kind of strategic complexity to your game, right? Like that is a feature, not a bug, to a lot of players, right?
Yeah.
I think the challenge with the complexity though is I don't know his financial situation as well, and I know
Sure.
some people with their armies you make a quote unquote a poor investment, something that you think was really good doesn't quite work the way you want them to work, and maybe you're not in a financial situation to then go buy the list or the units that you really need, and that becomes a very frustrating process for people. And I've seen many people give up. Especially when they're in that mixed order or that, some particular armies that are quite complex. Cities is another example. So that's the other risk. While some more complex armies, there's probably quote unquote net lists around where they go, yeah, cool, skeletons are great, or, Phoenix Guard are wonderful, where you can at least get that kind of true north and then build around that.
Nice.
Yeah, and just because you're a new player doesn't mean you're like a simple person. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You might be new to AOS, but you might have a 2000 chess rating.
Right, sure.
And so there's difficult to learn and pick up, and then there's once you're used to the rules, like you suddenly have all this other information or stuff to draw on, from your life earlier. So
right.
There is that as well.
Just as another aside there, speaking to what Anthony was saying about like the financials and that, Night Haunt were in a starter kit, and the models are actually like really cheap and easy to get a hold of. So there you go.
I mean, you've got those little 1 or 3 man boxes that you can purchase from a Games Workshop for cents on the dollar. So you could even grab that, try it out. And if you like painting it and you could see yourself painting armies like this, it could be a nice little put your toe in the water.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right. We got another fun question. Quiet Side asked, does anybody have a suggestion for alternative Stormcast Eternal models? He doesn't like the models, but, clearly wants to make the army. This is a fun question because it is kind of a unique-ish thing. But if you
want all Games Workshop product or not, because with the rise of the interaction,
let's say no. Let's say it's whatever you.
Okay, because that was a thing. One thing you can do is I just like the Games Workshop thing so much more, because like one of the things that really drew me to them was the Wrathmonger / Skull Reaper kit.
Okay.
And like I think you can do so much with that kit, especially with weapon swaps, and it gives them it's a similar, vaguely similar silhouette, but it has this whole different flavor. Another thing you can do is some of the bigger Mantic Basilean guys. There are units of bigger knights and dim angels, and you just not glue on the angel wings and put them on bases. A lot of the more archaic looking Space Marine alternatives, like Cyber, Cyber especially, because they a lot of their iconography is so close to the Games Workshop stuff. They had to tone back more of the technology aspects, specifically the backpacks. There's a lot less sci-fi in the silhouettes of those miniatures. So if you buy some of their counts as Dark Angels or Blood Angels, you can get a lot of cool beefy knights that way. I'm trying to think of what else there is. There was Mantic, there was Cyber. And there's always just and you can also mix and match. like the corn skull reapers specifically is honestly my go-tos for picking up those liberator guys.
Okay.
And another thing, just before, because this pertains to the question one was asked to me the first time, and now you have to ask yourself what don't you like about them. And back then, this was when Stormcast first came out. They barely had any detail on them. So now we have like the Sacrosanct, we have the Vanguard chambers, where they have like cloth and they have more ornamentation, especially around the helmets.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask yourself the question of what
Or
you
even
don't like
exposure.
about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I have to say on that.
All right, I dig it. Anybody else got any clever ideas?
So, this is kind of right up my wheelhouse. This is like where I live. So when it comes to alternative models, there's like a crazy amount of companies that do like a bunch of different stuff. My entire Beast of Chaos army is from Bronze Age miniatures and from Mersh miniatures. In terms of like trying to find alternative miniatures for Stormcast Eternals, what I would ask you first is, do you have like a theme in mind? Because if you're not going to use, do you want just like big armored dudes still, or do you want to like go down a different route? Like, what is it you're looking to do? Because that's going to help you actually find miniatures that you're happy with. Like, let's say instead of having a big armored dude, you just want like a big muscle-bound brute, right? Who's just got like thick rhino skin or some shit.
Sure.
Well, that's going to help you find miniatures further on down the line, right? So, yeah, I would suggest, and before you start looking for alternative miniatures, pick out a theme. Find a narrative behind your army before you go and buy a bunch of alternative sculpts. And if you're wanting to continue on down the like the heavily armored, like typical Stormcast look, Mersh Miniatures actually just finished their Atlanteans or something line, and it's literally like Colossus dudes that are like look like big Spartans with like massive shields and stuff. So I would look into that if you want to stay down the armored route.
Nice. All right. And Dicey Guy has given us like 100 suggestions in the comments, which is awesome. Like many alternative miniature ranges. The man is a fan of all things miniature. He is one of the most passionate miniature hobbyists I know. Great guy. Makes a lot of great content. All right. Sweet. Anybody else have any thoughts?
The only thing I would say, so obviously the two, everyone's mentioned, why are you doing this? The risks, obviously, and this is maybe not for the person who asked the question, maybe for others, but a lot of miniature companies create their miniatures for what's called a 28 mil scale, while we know in Games Workshop world, we have more of a heroic, probably closer to a 32 mil style. So what does that mean essentially for the person who doesn't really know what I'm talking about just yet? It means that most alternative miniature companies are creating models that are smaller than what Games Workshop produce, because they accentuate the details, they make it larger than life. And if you've ever compared, a third party or someone else's model versus a Games Workshop model, you find that it's often smaller. So just a consideration to keep in mind. The second of all is that Stormcast is a very unique aesthetic. Now, it doesn't mean to say that it's not around. The Chaos Warrior is where this all started, which then inspired the Space Marine, which is essentially then inspired the Stormcast in some way or another.
Right.
So if I was going to make a recommendation, it would be through either the Chaos Warrior range, especially with the new kits that are coming out, or it would be through the Space Marines, or potentially Sisters of Battle. I would probably be inspired to touch on the Sisters of Battle and finding my own way to create Stormcast through that.
I could definitely see some
got
awesome Sisters conversions into Stormcast. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you've got, the Celestine who could be
The
tapped
Sisters
into for the Celestine Prime. You've got very dynamic poses that you can tap into. And look, to be honest with you, there's other cool things like there are Stormcast upgrade kits through Forge World, so alternative heads for male and female, as well as you can buy a variety of shields and I guess side armor plates. So there are ways to customize it from the standardized box.
Yeah,
I think Morocco was
if you were
about
gonna
Sisters of Silence.
Yeah. That is exactly what I was going to talk about. That is like a fantastic. If you're going to go down the Sisters of Battle route, then yeah, I would totally pick up the Sisters of Silence.
Yep. I was simpatico with you there, my friend. I knew where you were going. I could sense it.
Hell yeah.
Because yes, they're great. They're great Stormcast stand-ins, 100%. Right on. All right. We're doing good work here, guys. Dorn Jr., I saw you ask a question earlier. I'm sorry, I forgot it. Basing help, trying to get like Star Trek teleporter pad energy dots on dark surfaces like they're just beaming down. Should I put little shiny metal under or get fluorescence? Here's my answer of how I would do that. So I would put in a relatively small white dot. Okay? And then I would, like here, I'll scoop my palette over and then we'll see how, I'll show you exactly what I would do. Basically, I would put in a little small white dot like that. Okay? Then I would use an airbrush and I would spray an area like that around it with sort of a white color, like a light ivory. Then I would drop fluorescent lightly over the whole thing, or some kind of light color, whatever it is. Like if you want blue dots, I'd drop a light blue over there. Doesn't have to be the fluorescent, could just be any blue. And then I'd come back in with another dip of white, go like in a smaller dot there, and then I'd take the bright fluorescent or whatever and put another little dot in the center. That way you have a super bright center beam with then the faded area around it. That's how I would go about it. So, there you go. All right, cool. Hopefully that helps. Let's see. When using separately painted bases after attaching the model later, how do you have a good level surface for the miniature's feet, especially with rough, muddy bases? Do you make an imprint earlier? Yes, you can make an imprint, or you can push real hard. Like, it sounds silly, but that's like literally my tactic a lot of the time is I put plenty of glue on their feet, and I push the miniature and the thing together, and I just squeeze, because that like mud and grit and paste and whatever you use is pretty soft. So as long as you're not dealing with like actual rock grit, you can generally just push stuff down in. And if there's still some space, let the glue dry, go back in with just a tiny bit of like plastic putty or something like that and just shove some under their feet. It takes 8 seconds. People are always worried about doing stuff like that, about like putting unpainted putty on a model at the end. It takes like 2 seconds to shove that white putty in there. It dries in about 5 minutes, and then you just paint over it with dirt. And then it just looks like some dirt got up on their feet. It even just puts them more in the world. It's seriously the fastest process. And there you go. Easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. There you are. So hopefully that helps.
And for was the question specifically about muddy bases, or was it just in general?
Yeah, he had said like he had asked about.
Okay.
He had asked muddy. Yes.
Okay. Never. Then my suggestion doesn't. Yeah.
What was your suggestion? Go ahead for your other surface.
Well, because I had to do that with the entire Stormcast army, because all of them are on clay bricks.
Sure.
And like a smarter thing to do would be to like make resin masters, like what Oscar did, and then cast them again and again. Like there's only 6 actual clay bases, but then the rest of them are all solid resin, which is easy to just attach something to because it's one surface. But for the bricks, because the bricks are clay, if you pinch them, they crumble. And so I had to make sure that I couldn't pin them directly to the bases. If I pin through the brick, it shatters. And I've already painted that brick. So I had to plan beforehand, like understand where you want while you're building the base where the miniature is going to stand, and then either take a photo of it or use like maybe some dollops of paint or any sort of mechanism that you find useful on saying the miniature is going to go here after I've applied a paint to both the miniature and the base, and then you build accordingly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Also, I just always run a pin, and then you can just kind of really force them in there because you got the pin to keep it stable. If you have pinned feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, mud is really forgiving. I currently am doing my bases like that right now, but my new favorite basing material is ground coffee beans. So I'm reusing what Yeah, so what I do is I obviously use my coffee from the coffee grinder to drink that delicious coffee. Then I'll put those ground coffee beans, which are very coarse, in the oven for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes to kill the bacteria. Then, basically glue it on your base and then seal it up. And it really gives you some really nice texture that I found that, let's say, for example, your Vallejo or even your Games Workshop basing material, it gives you a whole range of different sizes, which is really cool. But to your point, literally putting on models and it looks uneven. So literally what Vince said, it's so forgiving. You can just muck it all up and it looks like mud. That's the beauty about mud.
There you go. Absolutely. And Jack, by the way, you could have joined. Absolutely. Like I pinged people. I put it in a little chat. But Jack, I would have you on here in a second. You know it. But if your stuff is packed up, that's fine too. But you would of course be welcome, Jack. Have you painted or played any Malifaux? And if so, do you have a favorite model faction? Yes, I have. And the Neverborn were, I think, pretty cool. I like all the characters out of that. And as Tom is pinging me here, I have to answer him and then interrupt everybody else being able to see it because he's a dum-dum who decided to chat to me in a thing that he knows is going to interrupt. Okay.
Oh, Tom.
He's always going to be different. That's why we love him.
He couldn't just send me a text. Why not? Why would that happen? Just my phone over here. No. That would be fine.
Is he joining the stream very late or no?
He'll be joining, yes.
All right. If you don't mind, I'd like to hop off in like 15, 20 minutes so I can make food. And...
That's fine.
Yeah. Perfect. And then I actually have a coaching conference this evening with Aaron.
Oh, nice. Very good. Well, tell him I said hi, and I hope he's doing well. Is he done with his move?
Wait, all of that cut out. Could you repeat it, please?
Tell him I said hi, and is he done with his move?
I will ask him that later.
There you go. All right, cool.
Yeah. And that's Aaron Lovejoy, for those who have no idea who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, Rasputin is my favorite girl that I ever painted. I did her faction, and I really liked her. So there you go, because she's beautiful. Let's see. Quiet Side said, "Do you think this is a good question. Here we go. All right, gentlemen. Opinion time again. Do you think that wargaming miniatures nowadays are too busy with adornments?" So and then he gives an example. But so the question is, do you like a more or less adorned miniature? Where are you sitting at? On the realm of, let's say, Ogre Glutton being at the low end.
Sisters of Battle Tanks. And it's like, do you want minimalism or maximalism?
Sure.
And there's room for both, especially if we want as much diversity as possible in this strategy game.
That's a very political answer.
Yeah. Now let's hear some real answers. No, I'm just
okay.
My favorite army is High Elves, which are covered in detail.
Sure.
So that's my answer.
They have a bunch of little bajangles all over them. Yes, High Elves love their bajangles.
Yeah, so there's my personal answer.
All right, fair enough. Coach,
okay.
What do you got?
I am blessed to play the Free People Empire, which come with both. So they are minimalist, but there is a whole bunch of kits that allow me to make them all fancy, with feathers and really cool stuff. So I prefer the low end of the scale and having less on the miniature. That allows me to add my own flair to my miniatures with additional things. So take me on the low end.
All right, right on. Maroc?
I'd have to say that if it depends on the volume. So if I've got to paint 40 dudes and they're covered in a bunch of details, right. I don't want to do that. I don't want anything.
Zangor, for example, Foot Zangor, right? Where they're just swimming with nonsense all over them, and you gotta have a good number of them.
Yeah, that's a no, thank you. I like your Ungor level of detail for stuff like that. You get to play around with some flesh tones. There's different textures on the miniature as well, so you've got fur and stuff. But when it comes to heroes and stuff, oh yeah, put all the detail you want in there because I'm gonna lavish attention on that guy anyway. So you might as well add all the bajangles you want on there. But so yeah, for For characters and stuff, I like quite a bit of detail, but for my like bigger units, and keep it simple.
Agreed. I think that's where I come down. Like I hate too much over detail on miniatures. It's one of the things that honestly concerns me a little on the new sisters. Like they're very small and they're just very packed with like a lot of detail and a lot of little nonsense things. And I honestly like it when I, as the artist, get to make some decisions about like volumes and how I want to do things and explore with freehand or not. Like negative space is fun and you get to fill it. Like the ogres were so pleasant to paint. They were just absolute pleasant from top to bottom because they have these big, well-defined muscle structures and like, you know, big fabric. But you can do stuff like I could add some texture if I wanted to. I could add tattoos. Like I had space to work. The model didn't dictate everything to me, right? I got to say.
I felt the same way. I felt the same way with my gits. I painted 160 gits, and they're just simple, but there's so much I could do on those robes, and there's not too much bejanglings.
Yeah, exactly. Like I see people do cool stuff like put checks and dags on the Moon Clan robes and stuff like that, right? That's so you can paint it simple or you can paint it complicated, right? You can go either way. Yeah, Joe, what do you think? You're an ogre fan.
Well, before you answered, I was gonna frame mine like I guess I'm the boring guy in a certain way, but no, I care much more about silhouette and movement for like the model more than what the details are exactly.
Right.
I'd rather things just be simpler and more elegant than have doodads all over it or stuff pressed into the skin or standing on some little skull thing or danglies all over the place. It's nice to have those as an option, and I'm always happy when a kit comes with a whole bunch of crap you can put on your guys as an option. But I guess I just I'm more simple. I like the option of painting something onto it if I want, or putting stuff on if I want as well. And I like the big, the big ogre, areas to do whatever you want with, and
right,
and more things along those lines, I guess.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I like things like I love Imperial Knights, right? Because again, a lot of an Imperial Knight is just big,
it's like
flat,
a car.
spat face. Yeah, it's just yeah. You can go nuts. You want to airbrush a unicorn riding on a fantasy landscape with a big pink lightning bolt in the background? You can do that. You just want it to be red? You can do that.
Yeah, with a dream catcher and a mountain and a wolf. Yeah.
You can do both. Also, Tom's joined us. Hi, Tom. Welcome.
Hey, hello, friends.
Hey, Tom.
Tom, where do you come down on this? In the more complex to less complex miniatures, how do you feel?
Hard pass. I want
highly
to get my
detailed?
models painted.
Yeah.
Yes, and just get it done.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I just want it done. And, anything that's going to make that worse is a problem. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was just going to say, do you still believe that after doing 2,000 rivets on your KO ship?
I mean, I did that because I had to. Right?
Yeah.
I felt that way beforehand as well. Now, that's not to say that I don't make things more difficult for myself. For my KO, for my Fire Slayers, anybody that had a ward save, I painted like a cracked lava pattern on their entire body. I did that. And I'm still doing that. I have a bunch over there that are half painted. But that's the point, is that sometimes I'll go in if that's what I want to do, but also I just want to get it done. And if I want to get it done, I don't want all that crap. I love Night Haunt because it doesn't have all the crap. It has some nice textures, it has some nice differences, and it paints super quickly.
Yeah.
And nicely as well. I'm not talking about doing a junk job on the color transitions or the ghost and just a single wash. That's what I'm talking about. But what it is just simply makes it go fast because of how they've decided to do the models and what they've decided to include and not.
Right.
So I'm over here in a corner by myself with my fancy clothes and all the bojangles.
With your
just showing
elf
your fancy
nonsense.
high elf stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Well, high elves did it well, and that's what I like the most about them.
No, they didn't. No. So here's the deal. I painted an Island of Blood set, basically. And it was like one of my first painting experiences and one of my worst. Because there was just so many everything. Of like, and it all needed to be different colors in order for it to really like pop and do the right thing. And so like the little gold filigree and the little dangles off the spear.
Yeah.
And, like it's just all of it.
Swordmasters are my favorite model. I am holding on to 60 of them for when I make a great sword unit for Cities of Sigmar or Cities of Elves or whatever the faction name will be. And then I'm going to make a free cities version of that. And all of those Island of Blood Swordmasters you painted, those are going right on bases as great swords. I love those models.
And it's fine. That really is fine. My big problem is like the Lothran Seaguard. Like the Swordmasters were actually the easier paint job. The Lothran Seaguard were the ones that broke me.
Yeah.
Because they have everything.
They have lamellar. Yeah, they have leather. That's like actually the wave pattern below the scale.
They had,
and then
they had
you have
gold.
the plate armor with gems. Yeah.
Yep, they had gold. They had silver. They had like a lamellar like plate, like so that you had multiple colors.
Yeah.
You had gems. You had hair. You had wood on the bow and arrows.
And then coral hanging from the wood.
Yep, and then coral. It was just. It was the worst.
Well, and the best part is after you're done with all that, you get a Lothran Seaguard.
Right.
It's not
right.
That's not a great reward at the end of that. The end of that journey.
You guys are just making me miss
it's not like I don't have. It's not like I have a unit of Zangor. Because Zangor are the same thing. Like they're just the worst to paint, and they have all the textures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least when you're done, you've got Zangor.
Right, and you're like, yeah, I got Zangor. But like that's not the world we live in right now with elves. That said, I have not learned my lesson. I just had a Sky Cutter Chariot show up in my mailbox this week, so. I mean, it happens.
Sure.
I had somebody reach out to me and they're like, hey, I'm at a store and they have everything old. Do you want anything? And I'm like, yes. What do they have of elf? So I got a couple more elf chariots. I got...
Did you get one of your White Lion chariots?
That's what I'm saying. Like the elf chariots.
I even sent you some of those when I bought 3 boxes of them.
I know. Yep, I could feel at least 9 at this point. I do. I could feel at least 9 at this point. That's not what really matters. It's being able to field 18 converted White Lion Demigraph Cav. That's what matters here. 3 units of 6.
I get it.
So I'm still in the corner of liking all of the bullshit that they put on models because I think it's great. I think it's actually like an intimidation factor where like they're just covered in this elegant opulence and it's like sort of like order, not like Slaanesh, which is just pure excess. And I think that's part of like what like drew me to High Elves.
Well,
it's very
it is.
Yeah, very, very Baroque style sort of ornamentation.
It is definitely intimidation, but it's intimidation for painters.
I mean, so Tom, were you listening to the beginning of the stream at all?
Not at all.
All right, so what I'm working on right now and through the end of Thanksgiving is I'm working on a 75 millimeter High Elf King. I think I put him in the chat yesterday. And he's all of those. Well, I'm painting him like because the company doesn't exist anymore, so I'm not painting him as a statue. I'm painting him as a real elf, and all of the details that are like on Lothran Seaguard times 1,000. It's glorious. It's glorious.
But it's 75 mil. So it's not as bad because you're not with like a 0 brush or like a 000 brush, triple odd brush trying to paint coral.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know what the hell a 0 odd brush is anymore.
I don't know.
That's for doing the pupils of eyes.
Out of my...
Or hyper fine, like ultra fine, sharp, thin lines in small areas. Like when I'm doing purity seal scroll work, right? That's when I get out that brush.
Yep.
Like when I need to do hyper fine text.
It's like
when I'm trying to do
I don't paint
font,
pupils of eyes anymore.
Sure. when I'm trying to do 8-point font on a 28 mil miniature, right? Like that's like scaled 8-point
Right,
font. Yeah, because like I just
Like,
like
I've
you
been-
can never get small enough with that. That's it can
I've-
always be smaller.
I've been painting wolves for I don't know how long, so it's just the eyes are just yellow. That's
Sure.
it.
About 3 years.
Yeah, it's all the time. Nick asked Tom, "Are you making Duerden handgunners and thunderers? Like, are you making gunners that are made out of dwarves, handgunners out of dwarves?"
Nope. Nope.
There
Nope.
you go.
I believe in my dispossessed brethren.
Going Iron Drakes.
Yeah, so I have Iron Drakes, all the Iron Drakes. And
Iron Drakes were tearing
and-
it up today at Crimbobo. I don't know if you watched any of the coverage, but they were doing some
I
work.
didn't.
They were scary. There was many
They-
tables reporting power with Iron Drakes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh yeah. They are a good unit.
I believe there was like an
Oh,
army that lined up against us. It's obviously it's a team game, right? So
Yeah.
it's like Havoc.
Team.
But there was one of the teams was like there was a Slaanesh thing going on, and the person had packed in 2 keepers, into their 1,000-point army, and I believe
they
like
lost
Iron
the top
Drakes and a
one.
couple other shooting units dropped the first turn and killed both keepers outright, and that was their only 2 heroes.
Yep.
Like enjoy your useless
Yep.
depravity. You're done now.
Amazing.
No, it's and like for 150 points, like they are well costed. They're particularly effective right now, obviously, because Bridge allows you to send multiple small units across, and they're basically all at 20 shots when they pop on the other side of the bridge.
Well,
Which,
well, happy
that's pretty
birthday, the
good.
Grand Wombat. He said it's his birthday today as well. 11/23. It's a great day for a birthday. That's a good birthday day. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. All right. Rock and roll. Chuck said he likes the detail in High Elves, but the level of detail on the Blood Reavers was too much for him. Yeah, I don't know. I thought the Blood Reavers were okay. I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were too bad.
Wait, the Blood Reavers. Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about like the Corn Barbarians?
Yes.
Do you mean
yeah,
Blood
the starter
Reavers
set
or do you
Blood
mean
Reavers.
Blood Warriors? I thought Blood Reavers were okay. Blood Warriors are more annoying because they do that thing Chaos does where they have like an armor plate surrounded by a piece of metal. That's my least favorite thing.
Everything
No,
has to have a trim. I don't get that.
Yeah, my dwarves right now, everything has a trim. Like all the dispossessed that I'm painting.
It looked really good on the Varanguard. Like their armor with the trim is sharp as all get out.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, sure, but you want to talk about over-designed miniatures. Like, sure, the Varanguard are like the poster boys for over-designed. But but like, what are you going to paint? 6 of them in your entire life? Like, I mean, it's they're not a horde.
You're not doing 40
I don't know.
of
We'll
them.
find out in a month.
I guess, yeah.
We'll find out in a month.
Yeah, probably like 2 to 3 weeks now at this point. So there you go.
Yeah, pretty soon we'll see Archeon plus 12 Vanguard 2,000 points,
Instead of 9.
Yeah, instead of 9. I mean,
I play,
remember Vanguard's starting cost? And they've gone down something like 60 a year for 4 years.
they were
People are
360
playing.
when they
out-
started.
Wonder what
It
they'll
was
end up-
360.
They
They were 120 points a model. They were 120 points a model, which was the same as the Dracoth riders when they were like competitive, but you only had to pay for 2 Dracoths, where you had to pay for 3 Varanguard. So it's like 240 for 2 Fulminators or 360 for 3 Varanguard. And Fulminators, especially back then, when people were like legit taking them, it was like no contest.
Yeah.
When they come back out, obviously they'll be 30 points for 3. So just standard.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And have good allegiance abilities.
Sure.
Checks out.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
All right, guys, if you don't mind, I'm gonna hop off
Bye, Marty. Thanks for hanging
Yeah.
out, buddy.
again. Yeah, you're welcome, and happy birthday again. Thanks for letting me come on, and everybody have a good night.
Same to you, sir.
Same, mate.
You too, man.
Bye.
No, I agree. Like
I too
Varanguard
gotta
are
go
a
eat dinner now.
by all means.
But
Varanguard are a
happy
singularly
birthday,
beautiful
and
model.
thanks for having me on.
Of course. I was very glad to have you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Thanks, Joe. See you later, buddy.
See ya.
All right. I'm looking.
I'm leaving it.
forward to
I'm gonna just prep you. I'm leaving in a couple minutes.
I figured you were just dropping in for a few minutes. That's okay. We're not going to be here super much longer. This isn't like an all day thing. This is we're already 3 hours into it, so there you go.
Yeah, you're already dwindling down to only 129 viewers.
No, it's fine. I'm not worried about that. I hope everybody's watching is having a good time. I like all the discussions that people have suggested. That's been great. It's awesome. I just have to
really
go actually play a Warhammer game. as crazy as that is.
Who else coming over tonight?
It's going to be a small game. So it's unusually a one-on-one game tonight. So there you go.
What are you taking?
I don't know yet. This is a thing that plagues me every time. So every time I sit down to play, because of the
how many armies do you have?
13 now. And that's not trying to
clearly
be
play ogres.
What's that?
Like you just painted them. Go actually take the ogres out for a spin.
Sure, I could take the ogres out for a spin. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that like every time I sit down to play, I have a lot of consternation over exactly what to pick and play with. Like, oh, whoa is me, right? Like what a miniatures first world problem that is. But I like playing my Iron Jaws a lot. Obviously, Slaanesh is on the shelf, so that's not a problem. No issue there. But like I like playing the Jaws. I like getting my Skaven out. That's always fun. I especially like running, weird Skaven armies, like because we're not playing highly competitive games, so I like to play like weird Skaven armies. Like doing a full Molder build or something like that is fun. Those kinds of things. So, yeah, I don't know. I really should. I mean, I guess I have to kind of adjust my army number in that 2 of those armies I'm counting are Bretonnia and Tomb Kings, but I suppose they are theoretically legal now that they're sitting in the compendium.
They're in your museum, right?
Yeah, they're in the museum, yeah.
No, you're just ahead of the meta for the old world game coming.
There it is. I'm way ahead of the game.
Got 2 armies ready to go.
Mm-hmm. There's some number of those Tomb Kings that are on round bases, but very little. Which you might say, why would you rebase part of an army? The answer is because I don't care. I rebased part of it because I needed to take some photos of it for Tyler when he did the
Tomb Kings.
his Tomb Kings army project. So I rebased some of mine to add some photos for him.
Man, that was a good book. That was such a cool book.
It was a great book. He did a great job. Yes, exactly, LV. Like, I have all these beautiful armies. Woe is me. Yeah, 100%. Oh, geez, feel bad for me and my decision, my indecision. But no, I'll probably play the ogres just because why not? I imagine my opponent will be playing Khorne, so that'll be a good match. Khorne against ogres is fun. 2 armies that want to get in and punch each other real hard is a good time. Yeah, that's legit.
Seems like ogres chew that one out.
I don't know. I mean, especially if you're going MSU ogres, that might actually not end well for you because of that just means late term bloodthirster for them.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's his birthday, so if they beat him on his birthday, your opponent's a jerk.
Nah, not at all. It's going to be a fun game either way. I love playing Khorne. It's always fun. Like Khorne is such a fun army to play against. Yeah. It's a fun army to like we talked about it a little earlier, and one of the challenges is the whole it is kind of a fiddly-ish army, but at the same time it does have Blood Tithe itself as a concept is like one of the better concepts they've ever come up with. Now we can talk about like the execution of how it turns into summoning and all that.
Yep.
And maybe that's off or whatever, but
you're just saying that there's consolation prizes.
Yes. Like being rewarded for losing units is incredibly fun because then even if you lose a unit, you're like, well, Blood Tithe point. You get the Khorne consolation prize. Right? And that's just so like there's a little positive thing that happens even if one of your units gets wiped out. That's great.
And as someone who plays a lot against a lot of Khorne, they're probably one of my favorite. I played one of Australia's best players the other week, Matt Campbell, and I did lose at the end, but it's always a good game. I think win, lose, or draw against Khorne, you always have a good time. So I am yet to be proven wrong on that one. So
I agree. Like, they always feel like they're playing a compelling game with you, right? And like they have some tricks, but it's not overwhelming. You're not trying to keep a million things in your mind, but you got to watch that blood tithe because it might suddenly charge you or fight you in the hero phase or just do crazy stuff. So like they're just fun to play against, you know?
It depends on what kind of list you're playing as well. Because
suppose.
like
I'm not thinking of like I will agree. I'm thinking of like more of the mortal based force than like the 4 bloodthirster kind of council of blood spam.
Well, like let me say it this way: I don't think I've ever lost against any game against Khorne.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
I'm thinking through.
Sure.
No, I honestly, whether it's like friendly local games or event games, I don't know that I've ever lost a game against Khorne, and I think it might be because of the types of armies that I play.
Sure.
Like some like because of the matchups.
Like the Khorne.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Mark.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was just saying because of the way that some of the matchups, like because of the way the type of tools that I bring to the table, like it makes a lot of Khorne matches non-starters for them.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't feel bad about that, but it's just like it's because of the weaknesses of that army.
I love
quite
playing
sure you don't
against
feel
Khorne.
bad about winning, Tom.
It's always amazing. It's always amazing because I don't know, the Khorne army feels very like urgent. Like everything has to happen right now, you know what I mean? Like they're rushing across the board to get into combat with you. Everything's moving as fast as it possibly can. Like everything feels like it's 2 minutes to midnight in the game, and I love that like high intensity. Like I'm gonna get you.
All right, right on.
And
Tom, there's a question in the chat here I want you to answer. Okay. Here we go.
Who?
Tom. I want Tom to answer it. All right, here's the question, Tom. If you were using KO bits for converting ogres into mildly fancy lads, and you had to pick one KO kit for bits, which one?
What do you mean mildly fancy lads?
I don't know.
Like,
just imagine. Imagine what he means. How do you make ogres fancy lads using some KO bits? How about like the full face masks of Endrin Riggers or Sky Wardens replacing the ogre heads, so they have
the heads are too small. Like the ogre heads are too small.
You mean the KO heads are too small?
Or the KO heads are too small, I think.
Well, while Tom thinks about this, I'm going to tell you to ignore KO.
Well,
you're going to go get some free guild handgunners, and you're going to go pick up the awesome monkey that's holding the barrel. He's a fancy. He's got something fancy. You've got a whole bunch of feathers in that as well as other nice little fancy things you can add to your ogres. So forget the dwarves. It's all about the humans.
I mean, if I was going to do that, I honestly would make a bunch of green stuff top hats and then stick feathers in like the bands around the top hat from the free guild stuff. That's fancy to me. That's classy.
You could go the funny route as well and just like cut the faces off of the KO heads and just sort of crudely put them on, and then green stuff straps on the back so the ogres are wearing these masks that are too small for their faces.
Have like Bane masks from KO.
Mm-hmm.
That would be adorable. I mean, I think your best bet, like Vince, I think you're correct. Your best bet would be that, like, if any heads fit, it's going to be the Endrin Rigger heads,
right?
Because they have these super long beards.
Yep.
And they are like disproportionately a little bit larger than the rest of the KO head. So I think that's your best bet from KO. That said, like I'll bet you could order like 35mm straw hats.
What's fancy about a straw hat?
Hold on, wait for it. Okay. And then do like green stuffed overalls, and you could make a bunch of Cajuns making gumbo. Like that's a project. That's a project that I've been dreaming about, doing like an ogre, like Cajun theme. So instead of like saber tigers, you have like alligators.
Get the necromunda alligators.
Oh, you could do that, or like I think Titan Forge used to have, they used to have a bunch of ogres in this like vein.
Yeah, no, I saw one on eBay. It's been there for about 12 months. At
Yeah,
least.
exactly.
Like $400, but it's a sweet ogre. Yeah, I know
Let me
what you're
see.
talking about.
I'm pulling it up. I'm gonna check Titan Forge again. It makes me wonder. Oh, they're the Blood Sail Island. So their Blood Sail is mostly like pirate ogres. Like that's what they're going for is the pirate ogres. But you could still use their alligators because they have like the gator cannon, which actually looks like a. Oh, see that? Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Hold on.
Oh no, Tom's down a rabbit hole.
I am.
He's now an ogre player.
He's excited now.
Here you go. We're sharing screen. We're going in here. So here's the gator cannon.
I'll lock on you real quick, Tom, so that way it doesn't go away.
There's the gator cannon. Look at that bad boy. You have a bunch of gators.
There's a scrap launcher right there.
Yeah, yeah. It needs to be a scrap launcher, not the other one.
The bad one.
And so that's one of them. Hold on, wait for it. And then talking about fancy. Look at this. Look at this snake biter. Look at this dude's top hat.
He's Brock. He's Brock of ogres.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, to him. Look at this. Look at this calf. You have some Mornfang there. Scuba Steve in the back. Just saying, do like some of the sculpt these in and do the resin bases. So you do the water. Just saying, like there's doing Cajun / ogres, and you can do some top hat in there. Be amazing. And here's Scuba Steve, obviously.
That's a crab. I know.
Is it?
Oh no, sorry.
No, it does say gator crab, but it's because the guy I think has crab claws.
Yeah.
Yep, he like his one arm is a crab claw. The claw. Just saying, lots of really interesting conversions, and you could get some of the fancy stuff. No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean they have some good all pirate stuff here. This is neat. I like this.
He's saying your ogres can be both fancy boys and can also have a distinctly Caribbean feel all at the same time.
Right, like that was part of the culture. Was to these two, like for the like they had to. Well, I'm not gonna go into that. But anyways, yes, you could do something like that. It'd be neat. And some of these guys would have great top hats. Like imagine this guy with goggles and top hat right there. Mm-hmm. Bam. They look wonderful. So that would be an easy way to do it. Rather than using KO bits. I don't know that KO is the right like thing for that. Does that make sense?
Sure. Somebody asked where they can get the mug. We had run a thing a little while back where we did some merchandise. We did a single order. The answer is hopefully at some point in the future I am able to basically host it somewhere where I can just actually have it readily available. So at the moment,
Saratoga, the vampires that were very much that the ship that crashed into Lustria, and I always thought that would be a sweet narrative and it'd be such a cool army to do. So yeah, I'm on board, Tom.
Yeah, like my struggle is this. Like, so I have basically the makings of an ogre army. Because I've been reselling Feast of Bones. Or I got some boxes, sold off all the one guys, and so I have a bunch of ogres, and I'm like most of the way to an army, right? I'm right now I'm still planning on selling them. Like I'm not starting a new army, like to be very clear. Like I'm planning on selling these guys. But the question is I thought about maybe I do an ogre army in the new year. And the reality is like it just wasn't compelling. Like the aesthetic of the big, the big boy blood spattered, it didn't catch my fancy. And I love the mechanics and I love all that, but I don't like the aesthetics. And that's really a problem. And so I don't know, maybe the Titan Forge stuff is the right way to go. Like if I wanted to do an ogre army, pick up a bunch of their stuff and go with the pirate ogres.
with KO being rumored to get a new book, is it really worth it as well? Is this
Probably
something
not.
that might be 2021 kind of like? I mean, I got burnt by picking up like 3,000 points of Sylvaneth. I picked up. I was going to convert Orion out of Magnus and do all this cool stuff, and then literally the book when Sylvaneth dropped was the same afternoon that Cities of Sigmar was announced. So I am very cautious these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I think you're dead on, because at the end of the day, like...
Give me just 1 second. Hold on, Tom. Hold on. Because Emily said it cut out when I was talking about merchandise stuff. So I just want to answer that real quick. The answer is, at some point in the future, we will have it hosted somewhere where it is available. There you go. Okay, please continue, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, my challenge is, like, I'm at a place now where, like, I've been playing my Night Haunt. I have my Night Haunt. I can easily pop that out to 2K. Like, and that, like, so that's not a struggle at all. I'm working on my dwarves now, like, expanding out so that I have, like, a true cities dispossessed force. But I also have a full Fire Slayer force that I could finish up. And KO is about to get refreshed. And so, like, I'm in a really good spot for a competitive play because I have all new books that I can basically bounce between Fire Slayers, cities, and the new KO pretty easily. And so it's real hard for me to even want to finish my Night Haunt or my Elf Soul, like my Soul Stealing project when I have this other stuff that, like, I really enjoy. Like, and I've really enjoyed painting and doing. So I agree with you. Like, it's real hard for me to begin to even consider a new army when I have a bunch of stuff that I've been working on that I'd love to see realized. I have all the models for a pure gloom, like a pure Spiderfang Gloomspite army, right? And not only that, like, not just spiders. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, I have.
Yeah, I remember you going out and buying the scuttle. No, what's it called? The
scuttle.
Yeah, like that. When you mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool idea. I'd love to see that realized on the table.
Like, I have 150 of those guys from Silver Tower.
Wow.
And so, like, or more. Like, yeah, let me be clear about it. Or more. And I have at least one unit of a 20-man of spider, like, of the archers that were on the Arachnarok. So 20 of the archers on the Arachnarok based as, like, foot archers. So I could at least do, like, 2 melee blocks, and I think I may have actually gotten the whole 180 of doing 2 melee blocks of 60 of the spiderlings, and then a 60 block of the archers, and then a 20-foot block. So, like, I could do, like, a standard Gloomspite thing of all spiders, in addition to an Arachnarok and all the, like, I also have, like, 80 actual spider riders. So, like, I could do the full spider Gloomspite build as well. And that's another thing that I like. So I have these other projects that are passion projects, that are hobby projects that I'd love to just keep working on and expanding. And so it's real hard for me to really, like, get into any of these other armies when I just have things I can do that I enjoy that are competitive.
Sure.
But I don't know.
That's fair.
I could do a pirate Caribbean ogres army.
Yep, I feel you. I mean, I could drive with my feet. Doesn't make it a good idea. And we live in a world where we have too much good hobby going around.
We do. It's so true. Like,
it's so hard. Like, when us content creators, right? We're always talking about new armies, and you get passionate people about these armies, and they start unlocking this. Oh, that'd be really cool. I should try this. And you get this, like, you get stuck in this. I want to do everything, but I'm doing nothing at the same time. So it becomes a very, very hard challenge.
It's easy to get swept up when you're sort of tasked with talking about everything, right, as part of what you're like. Okay, it's time to buckle down. It's time to do something serious. So now we do this.
Really good pirate theme.
Noblars?
No, like, yeah, Doom for Noblars. That's exactly right. So do, like, pirate halflings, and then do these Bloodsail ogres for, like, as pirates as well.
Oh, that's so cool. Don't tell me that.
There you go. We're back. Sorry, everyone. I'm going to figure this stream problem out, I promise, at some point.
Just saying, there might be some pretty easy conversions there. And that might make a really interesting army.
Sure.
Give me a good reason to bring out the halfling hot pot.
Right, like when you do the hot pot for the junk mob, like the scrap launcher. You do.
Maybe it's my terrain piece. Maybe it's the more pot.
No, the mall pot's a big gumbo pot.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe the chat can help us. Maybe they can guide us to how we create this dream.
So I'm thinking about. Yeah, I don't know. I need to think about it. I don't need to start a new army. Like at the end of the day.
But don't you?
I don't.
Are you sure?
I've made it 11 months. Do you know that? 11 months without starting a new army.
Well, one, that's a lie, but okay. And two,
what army have I started?
you did like a whole army of ghosts. You're adding a bunch of stuff here, Tom.
No. I had all those models.
Uh-huh.
Like those were literally models on my shelf I put together and just and painted.
I understand. That's still doing a new army.
The promise was I would not start any army that I did not already have models for.
Well, that's not even really that much of a commitment. Your shelves are packed to the ceiling. You could do 7. You could not buy anything for the next 12 years and only hobby, and you would still not be through your stack of nonsense.
First of all, I've gotten rid of a lot of my nonsense. Second of all,
I've gotten rid of a lot of my nonsense. Quote, Tom, 2019.
I mean, I have. Like, most of that stuff that I previewed on my, like, crazy, insane video that I did years ago, like, I don't have most of those armies now. Like, a lot of that stuff I've just straight up sold. Like, all of my Wanderers.
To be fair, your shelf did look pretty crazy, so either you've just moved them off camera or you've actually flipped them.
No, I have. Like, I've liquidated down to, like, I still have a pretty strong Nurgle force that I need to paint up. I have a pretty significant Stormcast force. I have a pretty significant Night Haunt that I need to paint. My son's Iron Jaws, which he's been working on. And then I still have a remnant. Like, I have a big High Elf army and I have a big Tomb Kings army. And then my orcs, like in my orcs, or my goblin. I'm sorry, not my orcs. My goblin, like Spider Fang stuff. I have a little bit of a remnant of Tzeentch that I don't know what to do with, because I like back when you could summon demons. I painted up 10 pink horrors, 20 brims, 20 blue horse, 20 brims, for just summoning purposes. And so like I have a start on a Tzeentch army if I wanted to do that. I have some like Zangor and stuff like that as well. So when the book drops, like I'll say this: if they do a double box of Tzeentch and KO this February, I could definitely see me starting both of those armies.
Good lord! And you want to start an Ogre army as well?
And I thought about an Ogre. I don't know, like, yeah. The impetus for that has passed. Let me say that way. For the Ogre army, largely because. Originally, like the talk was, I was gonna do, I was potentially gonna do that as my 1K force for Adepticon.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that could be like a good Holy Wars, like Adepticon type thing. But do you want to do 2K? Maybe not. Maybe not.
So, but I'm not gonna do that for my 1K. I think we're gonna do all death, which will be fun. So I'll play my Night Haunt for that. I think.
Stay tuned next week to find out what they switch to next. 17 different ideas have been floated since you decided you were going to do this Teams event. I can't wait.
I feel like this is something that your viewers need to clip And when you get to the episode of what you're actually going to run, we can play off all this theory.
Well, so my teams, by the way, have completely changed. We were aiming for like a hobby, like a very strong hobby team. And then we ran into some hiccups of scheduling, and basically everybody from that, or a lot of people, two of my 4 people of the team had to drop or dropped. And so it went from that to a bunch of like streamers and internet famous people. And so that's the new team, and we completely went from like a Cities of Sigmar concept, which I'm glad, because it seems like a lot of people are doing that now. And I think we're going to go all death, which will be fun. Because who doesn't like OCR Bone Reapers?
Sure. Are you going to be painting any OCR Bone Reapers, Tom?
Nope.
No?
Nope. I'm doing Night Haunt.
Okay.
So I'm doing Ghosts.
Sure. No, I believe you. I totally believe you.
Much. You. I am doing Ghosts.
He did say he bought a whole bunch of those Feast of Bones and flipped them, and he's now got a lot of orcs. That's not orcs, ogres. So
Ogres. Like, yeah, I did not keep any of those models. And like the other people are all doing OCR. Not all of them. 2 of them. I think so. 2 of us are gonna. One's gonna do 2 are gonna do OCR probably. I'm gonna do Night Haunt, and then I think the 4th player might do FEC. So that'll be fun. It'll be fun. You could pretty easily, even in the format of like not duplicating scrolls that aren't battle line, you could easily do like three OCR lists. You couldn't duplicate Petrifex, which would be the crime. But you could do...
Yeah, but by that point, Zine,
no.
So you need a null myriad.
Yeah,
but they've only got 2 battle line choices, don't
But
they?
you can duplicate them. But like that's the key, is that like any pure battle line for the team's event, you can duplicate. So
okay.
if it's not battle line, if it's just battle line, you can duplicate those units. Which guess what? More tech and cav, done.
All right, that changes things a little bit. I play in team tournaments where you can't duplicate any war scroll, so would put the 3 out. But if you can duplicate battle line, different story.
Yeah, because like you could go with like a heavy crawler list, you could go with just a heavy Mortec list, and you could go with a heavy harvester list. Yeah. Like harvester and Mortec, and the others is just Mortec or cav. And then like Arkan leading one, and then you got some Bone Shapers leading one, and yeah, lots of options there. I'm just doing Ghosts though. I might try something new and maybe do Legion of Grief. That'll be fun.
No, I'm sure you're just going to be doing Ghosts. I have no reason to think otherwise.
So, but yeah,
there's no chance at all, as far as I could tell, that 2 weeks from now you would have a completely different idea. It just wouldn't occur. I think we can all just lock it in now. And yes, Heroes and Bosses, yes, it is my 40th birthday today. That's the reason for the season, as it were.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to bail on us now. So
no, that's okay. I was about to.
I promised a short 20 to 30 minute call, and I'm going on 50 minutes. So
yeah, I told my wife that I would be in here for an hour, and I think it's close to 90 minutes. But I've enjoyed it nonetheless.
No, that's okay, because I was just about to call it a day, anyways. So to all of you out there watching, thank you so much for hanging out. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for all the birthday wishes, not witches, although if you want to send some of those along, that's fine too, I suppose. But thank you for all the birthday wishes. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Happy birthday to you. Stop that. Stop it. Stop.
Happy
You're
birthday.
going to get me demonetized.
Happy birthday, Divin.
Although you do have a lovely singing voice.
Happy birthday to you.
Nope. Demonetization. Done.
There it
You're
is,
shut
done.
down.
Now I gotta pay royalties.
You need to worry about Copa. It's all about, I've just demonetized the whole stream.
Yeah, exactly. No, but seriously, thank you everyone for hanging out. This has been great. A wonderful way to celebrate becoming middle-aged. I couldn't be happier about it. Looking forward to many more happy years of hanging out with all of you. Coach, Tom, everybody else who was here, thank you so much, guys. And to all of you out there, have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week as normal. Bye-bye.